Hey everybody, tonight we're debating whether or not Islam is violent, and we are starting right now with the skeptic side, in particular, Apostate Prophet opening. Thanks very much for being with us, Apostate Prophet. The floor is all yours.
Thank you so much, James, and thanks everybody for joining. Thanks for all the debaters for agreeing to this. Now, the topic is whether Islam is violent or dangerous or not. When you read the Quran, you will very quickly find out that the Quran has a very hostile language. For example, in Quran chapter 2 verse 171 and many other places, the Quran refers to the disbelievers as deaf, dumb, and blind. This is something that you can find repeated in the Quran many times. In Quran chapter 7 verse 179, for example, we find that the Quran even says that the disbelievers are worse than cattle. It says, to be specific, that Allah created many of the jinns and mankind for hell, and that they have hearts with which they do not understand. Those are the disbelievers, and they are like livestock, but rather they are even more astray. In chapter 8, verse 55 and 98, verse 6, we see twice that the Quran refers to disbelievers, including Christians, Jews, and polytheists, and disbelievers altogether, those who do not believe in Islam, as opposed to those who believe in Islam, as the worst of creatures. And in fact, in chapter 98, it is made the distinction is made very clear, where the disbelievers, so those who do not believe, are described as the worst of creatures, and those who do believe are then described as the best of creatures. This is just the beginning of the very hostile language which we find in the Quran. What does the Quran exactly command Muslims to do, on top of just insulting and dehumanizing the disbelievers? We find in chapter 9, verse 29, one of my favorite verses of a very telling Quran verse of the themes of the Quran. It says in chapter 9, verse 29, that the Muslims are supposed to fight those who do not believe in Allah and His Messenger, and who do not adopt the religion of truth, Islam, and to fight them until they are humiliated and they give the jizya, which is protection money. So Muslims have the mission, the command, to go out into the world and to fight and forcibly subjugate those who do not believe in Islam and those who do not want to accept it. And Muhammad himself practiced this. Muhammad himself went around declaring war, finding reasons to fight his opponents and basically subjugating them. And he also clearly said, as we can see in a hadith, which is a report about the things that Muhammad did and said, in Sahih Muslim, book 32, hadith 75, he says that he wants to expel all Jews and Christians from the Arabian Peninsula and leave nobody but Muslims. And in Sahih Bukhari, later on, he also says that he has been ordered to fight the people until they say that none has the right to be worshipped but Allah, and that Muhammad is his messenger. So if Muhammad himself, the prophet, the central figure, the authority in Islam, declares in, you can find this in Sahih Bukhari, book 24, hadith 5, he says, I have been commanded to fight the people until they convert to Islam. Basically, this is what Muhammad's mission is, and what the Quran also reflects. It says further in the Quran that you should not befriend the Jews and Christians because they are friends of each other. It says in chapter 9, verse 28, that polytheists are unclean, and so on. There is no end to how the Quran not just otherizes, but also insults, humiliates, and dehumanizes the disbelievers, or the so-called enemies of Islam. If we look at Muhammad's life, we can also see that he did some very atrocious things, such as, for reference, in Sahih Bukhari, book 63, verse hadith 48, we find an example in which Muhammad sends his men to a polytheistic temple in Arabia, in the southern part of Arabia, in Yemen, called Dhul Khalasa. And according to different reports, we also understand that this temple is apparently quite similar to the Kaaba, which Muhammad adopted from the polytheists. He sends his armies and lets them destroy this temple. In the report, we see that Muhammad says, "Will you relieve me from Dhul Khalasa, this temple?" So his men leave with 150 cavalrymen and destroy the temple. And it says, I quote, "And we killed whomever we found there. Then we came to the Prophet and informed him about it, and he invoked good upon us and upon the tribe of Ahmas," who are the people who did this job for him, going and destroying a temple and killing whoever is there. This is what Muhammad does. This is what Muhammad's armies, what Muhammad's people did. We can also find another report, Sahih Bukhari, book 24, hadith 5, in which we see again repeated the idea that Muhammad said, "I have been ordered to fight the people till they say none has the right to be worshipped but Allah." But in this report, we also find something else. Here we find that Muhammad's successors, the people after him, did not just go out and fight those who don't believe. They also fought all the Muslims within who separated themselves from the Islamic leadership and tried to practice Islam differently. So the Caliph, Abu Bakr, after Muhammad died, actually used this pretense and fought fellow Muslims because they weren't good enough, not traditionalist enough. This is what Islam is. There is more to it. Slavery, sex slavery, pillaging, robbery, wife beating, and so on. But I think I want to kick it over to David here and let him handle the rest and let him show how Islam is played out in real life today.
All right. You hear me, James? All right. So AP there at the end was mentioning Abu Bakr and Muslims actually fighting Muslims. And notice it was that first generation of Muslims that almost annihilated itself with violence. I mean, Aisha, the mother of the faithful, marched an army against Ali, the commander of the faithful. And approximately 10,000 Muslims, if I recall correctly, died in battle. These were Muslims who fought alongside of Muhammad at battles like Badr and Uhud and so on, and they're slaughtering each other over a disagreement. And what's sad about that is Muhammad said that the best generation of Muslims was that first generation. And the first generation was so overcome by violence that they almost annihilated themselves with violence. And Muhammad said, again, that's the best generation. And so we can see from the Muslim sources, I mean, in Islam, we're asking if it's violent. The solution for almost everything in Islam is violence. The solution for unbelief is violence. The solution for apostasy is violence. If your wife gets out of line, you can warn her first, but if that doesn't work, the solution is violence, various kinds of crimes or sins, stealing, for instance. The solution is violence. It's violence, 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 violence. If we ask whether Islam is violent, if you want to say no, you either have to change the meaning of the word violence or you have to change the meaning of Islam. But the various polls in recent years have shown just how prevalent some of these views are. So just to be clear in advance, there are plenty of Muslims in the world who sincerely believe that Islam is peaceful and who don't want to kill us and so on. Nevertheless, some of these statistics are fairly disturbing. In a 2004 poll, 65% of Muslims in Pakistan, 55% of Muslims in Jordan, and 45% of Muslims in Morocco said they had a favorable view of Osama bin Laden. 44% of Pakistani Muslims in 2011 said they viewed Osama bin Laden as a martyr. So you're talking almost half. 34% of Muslims in Jordan, 49% of Muslims in Nigeria, 23% of Muslims in Indonesia, and 20% of Muslims in Egypt said they have a favorable view of Al-Qaeda. 31% of Muslims in Turkey say that suicide attacks against Americans and other Westerners in Iraq are justifiable. 1/3 of Palestinian Muslims said they support the massacre of the Fogel family, which included a 3-month-old baby. 78% of Pakistani Muslims say they support the death penalty for leaving Islam. And so even if you're dealing with lower percentages like 21 or 25 or something like that, you're still talking about a lot of people. When you're talking about 1.6 billion Muslims, and you're looking at countries and you're seeing statistics like 65% favor this or 78% of that, you're talking about millions of people who want violence. And so if you're saying Islam isn't violent, then the only conclusion we could draw is that you're claiming that this many people are misunderstanding Islam in exactly the same way. So that would be the question. Why are so many Muslims, if it's not violent, misunderstanding it in exactly the same way? And it's not just Muslim countries. It's not just Muslim majority countries. You can come to the West. 2009, nearly 1 in 4 British Muslims said that the 7/7 bombings were justified. So you're talking about a quarter. 30% of British Muslims said they would rather live under Sharia law than under British law. 68% of British Muslims said they support the arrest and prosecution of anyone who supports Islam. Notice that's me and AP. 68%, over half of British Muslims said they support our arrest and prosecution for insulting Islam. 18% of British Muslim students said they would not inform police if a fellow Muslim was planning a terrorist attack. So if one of their friends said, hey, I'm launching a terrorist attack and I'm going to go, blow up a train or something like that, 18% of British Muslim students said they're not going to notify authorities about that. And so we see these kinds of statistics, and then we see very, very popular Muslims today, people like Ali Dawah, warning that if he ever gets control of society, people like AP are going to be executed. He says that, and his followers are very happy about that. We have Sheikh Asim al-Hakim, who laid out the overall plan. He said Muslims are too weak right now to conquer the world. But he said if Muslims keep preparing right now, then in a few decades, they may get to the stage where they're able to go door to door, knocking at the door, giving people 3 options. And the options are, not according to me, according to Sheikh Asim al-Hakim and the Muslim sources he's getting it from, you either convert to Islam or you pay the jizya, or, in his words, and he meant that you should be killed. And if that's your idea of a peaceful religion, again, you're gonna have to change the meaning of the words violence or peace or Islam to get something peaceful out of this.
You got it. Thank you very much for that opening. And I want to say, folks, if it's your first time here at Modern Day Debate, we are a neutral channel hosting debates on science, religion, and politics. We hope you feel welcome no matter what walk of life you're from, whether you be Christian, atheist, Muslim, you name it. We're glad that you are here. And hey, big debate coming up. King Crocoduck, old school YouTube debater, coming out of retirement for this huge debate against David McQueen. It's going to be a big one. You don't want to miss it. It's on Creation Evolution. So hit that subscribe button so you don't miss it. And with that, we're going to kick it over to our Muslim guests as well. Thanks so much for being with us. Perfect Dawah. And Nadir, the floor is all yours.
Did you want to go first, Mushi?
Yeah, if it's okay.
Sure,
Yeah?
go ahead.
Yeah,
Sure.
all right. Thank you. Sorry, I've been a little bit sick. Now I'm better. So is Islam violent? There are many ways to answer it. It depends on who you ask this question from. If you ask this question from those who have zero knowledge of Quran, then you believe that Islam is violent because for them, kafirs are disbelievers. And killing them is allowed according to ISIS and Islamophobes who read Quran like ISIS. Despite kafirs are not disbelievers, but oppressors like ISIS, Ayatollah fascist Khomeini, Hitler, Genghis Khan, and all other oppressors, no matter what they believe in, or they believed in or believe in. Quran chapter 16, verse 83, they recognize the favor of Allah, then they deny it, and most of them are kafirs. In this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says most of disbelievers are kafir, not all. So if kufr is disbelief, then all of them should be kafir. Quran 2, chapter 2, verse 34. When we told the angels, bow down before Adam, they all bowed, but not Satan, who refused and was arrogant, and he became a kafir. In this verse, Satan didn't become disbeliever, but he rejected Allah's command. Rejecting any of his commands is a kufr. And I believe we all commit kufr, but in the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala measures your scale of good and bad deeds. Quran chapter 23, verse 102. And those whose scales are heavy with good deeds, it is they who are successful entering heaven. Quran chapter 16, verse 90. Indeed, Allah orders justice and doing good deeds and giving to relatives, and forbids immorality and bad deeds and oppression. He admonishes you that perhaps you will be reminded. So rejecting these commands, which is doing good deeds and giving to relatives, needy, and taking care of orphans, is kufr, whether you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or not. Quran chapter 107, verse 1 through verse 7. Have you seen the one who denies the religion? That is the one who repulses the orphan and does not encourage the feeding of the poor. So woe to those who pray, yet are not mindful of their prayers, those who only show off and refuse to give even the simplest aid. So those who pray and repulse the orphans and don't feed the poor are the same as the disbelievers who do the same. Their prayers are just showing off. So it doesn't matter what you believe in, but what you do matters in the day of judgment. Quran chapter 42, verse 43. And whoever is patient and forgives, indeed, that is of the matters requiring determination. Chapter 23, verse 96. O Muhammad, repel evil in the best manner. We are well aware of all that they say about you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even encourages us to forgive those who do evil. Quran chapter 4, verse 135. O believers, stand firm for justice and witness for Allah, even if it is against yourself, your parents, or close relatives, be they rich or poor. Allah is best to ensure their interest. Refrain from following your own desires, so that you do not act unjustly. If you conceal the truth, Allah is fully aware of what you do. Islam is not a passive religion and has a guidance for every situation. So when people are attacked by enemies, Islam gives them the right to fight back, but that permission is only in self-defense and only as the last option. Quran chapter 8, verse 61. And if they incline to peace, then incline to it also, and rely upon Allah. Indeed, it is He who is hearing the knowing. Quran chapter 2, verse 190. Fight in the cause of Allah only against those who wage war against you, but do not exceed the limits. Allah does not like transgressors. There are many more verses to read which teach us the same meaning of being merciful and forgiving and peaceful. So a true Muslim is just the one who is merciful, forgiving, being peaceful, giving to relatives, needy, being just, and taking care of orphans, and doing all good deeds. Thank you, brother. Yes, brother Nadir.
Wonderful. Can you guys hear me? Awesome. Okay. Thanks, Muji. And this is going to be very easy debate. Let me first, but before I begin, I just want to first debunk some of these statistics David Wood has presented, trying to show Muslim to be more violent than other people. And then he tried to say, oh, this is just because of the Islamic teachings. Islam teaches them to be this way. Well, you do know. Let me first start off by bringing some statistics of my own, showing you that the real problem in this world that we're having today is Christian jihad. I'm talking about what's going on in Ukraine. Let me go ahead and present to you the following article from the Pope. The Pope of the Russian Orthodox Church basically just gave a religious edict telling us today that to fight and die in Ukraine, this is a way that you're going to get your sins forgiven. Does that sound familiar? Well, that sounds like jihadism 101. That's the same stuff Bin Laden and all the terrorists were teaching there, all right? And not only that, but we saw the Russian Orthodox Church sent missionaries and fighters, or what you call them, mercenaries, to Syria, and they committed horrible acts of murder against the Syrian people. And this was all blessed by the ROC, the Russian Orthodox Church. But the murderous jihad of the Russian Orthodox Church, actually, I would be here all day long if I were to just tell you about all the murderous things. But I want to talk about another terrorist here, and that is the terrorist known as Billy Graham's son. What's his name? Franklin Graham. Now look at this. Bashar Assad, one of the worst mass murderers of our time. He gassed his own people, barrel bombs, murdering innocent civilians. Look at this statistic over here. Let's see what David Wood has to say about this here. He says the reason, let me read this article, and I'm getting it from DW. Or I'm sorry, the conservative conversation. Okay, the conversation. Here we go. The reason, this is one of the reasons I believe that Putin's war against the Chechen militants in 1990s and more recent interview on behalf of Assad's government in Syria made him popular with Christian conservatives. Who? The mass murderer Assad. They believe Putin was protecting Christians while waging war against Islamic terrorism. Now ask Osama bin Laden. Ask ISIS, are you massacring and supporting your terrorists to protect Muslims? Well, yes, I am. An identical reasoning of Osama bin Laden and all the terrorists. They walk and talk the same way. So there you go. I hope now let's get some stats in front of us to debunk some of the things David Wood was saying. So Christians are the peaceful ones, right? Let us look over here. Pew research over here. Compared with the general public, Muslims are more likely to say targeting and killing civilians is never justifiable. Now, be consistent now, David. When Muslims said something bad, you said Islam is a problem. That's because of Islam. Well, now you have to now be consistent and say, okay, because of the religion of Islam, killing innocent civilians is wrong. Muslims lead on that there. And again, please hit pause on your YouTube video to get all my references. I'm going to go through this very quickly here. But it's worse. Let me quote to you another statistic over here. Public policy polling. 49% of Republicans think the religion of Islam should not be made legal in the United States. Let me open up this link over here. That's 49% of these people, if given the opportunity, they would engage in the same religious persecution against Muslims that their forefathers did. The only thing which is protecting us is the United States Constitution, which because there are many attempts to shut down our mosques and attacks against our mosques by these peaceful Christians. Okay, so I think I said enough on that. So here's how this debate's going to go down. All of these arguments, he threw a lot of stuff at us tonight, but all of these arguments about this idea that the Quran promotes violence and attacks against the non-believers, it can all be refuted by one simple argument, which can destroy all of these arguments. And that is very simple. As Muji alluded to, the Quran, when it talks about in chapter 929, fight the disbelievers, it excludes peaceful people, not innocent people at all. So let us go and let's show you that one verse over here. I don't know how much time I have over here. This is Surah 9, chapter 4, verse 91. I'm sorry. Let me go there real quick. If I can, wrong document. So over here, it says fight the non-believers, but look at what it says over here. It says over here that, but when you find other people who want security from you and security from their own people, but whenever they are tempted into civil discord, they plunge into it. So if they withdraw not from you, now look at the criteria over here. If they withdraw not from you, nor offer you peace, nor restrain their hands, seize them and execute them wherever you find them. So the Quran says, okay, go out and wage war against non-believers, but this is really a defensive verse. Why? 491 forces it to be a defensive verse, because if you apply this and say, listen, not the peaceful people. So here's how this debate's going to go down. We're going to chase apostate prophet out of the Quran and David Wood. Then they're going to try to go to the hadith, but this hadith says this over here, and believe me, they're going to have no refuge. We're going to chase him out of the hadith as well. And then they're going to try to get some opinions of scholars, and that's also not going to work for them. So why is Islam a religion of peace? Because, number one, because even though you find war verses, it's excluding peaceful people. So here's my challenge for apostate prophet and David. Prove me wrong. From all of the wars and battles that we find inside our texts, inside our scriptures, show me one group of people who were peaceful people and they were fought on the account of just because of their religion. Okay, and you will never find it. In fact, we actually see from the Quran, it actually condemns this. So this is one argument that will destroy everything they produced. Now, I do want to reference, I think Apostate Prophet brought about this hadith about Dul Khalasa. So let me give you the hadith, what it actually says over here, okay? So he went out and asked people, okay, go and tear down their temple. Why? Moses did the same thing, right? Muhammad is a prophet like Moses. Just as Moses smashed the golden calf, Muhammad did the same. But he said, okay, but everybody was killed. The text actually said, and then came the prophet, and they actually came to the prophet and said, and Allah's messenger, I have not come to you till I left it like a camel with skin disease. And the prophet simply invoked good upon Ahmaz and the Calvin. Now, here's my point here. We should not get into an interpretation. Well, okay, Muhammad didn't say anything about it, or we should find a clear, explicit teaching, just like I did. When I quoted 491, that was a clear, explicit teaching from the Quran, rather than getting into some kind of interpretation game. So all throughout the Hadith, all throughout the Quran, you will find this recurring theme that if there are people who are peaceful, they're not fighting anybody, there's no war to be waged against them. Now, they raised a lot of things, and one by one, it will be debunked. So why is Islam? So when we talk about, okay, well, why is it violent? There is good violence and then there's bad violence. Like, for example, fighting to protect oppressed people. Well, that's considered to be a very good type of violence. So I think we need to be clear here. We're talking about unjustifiable violence like what's happening in Ukraine,
seconds.
which is what Putin is doing. So let me repeat my challenge. Let's start with the Quran. Don't run to the Hadiths. Let's start with the Quran and show me anything in there which teaches to fight against peaceful people or to kill innocent people. And if you can't find it from the Quran, then say so. Just be honest.
Thank you.
And then we'll go to the Hadith.
With that, we're going to jump into open conversation, folks, and do want to say, as mentioned before, we hope you feel welcome no matter what walk of life you are from. This should be a juicy one. We're going to have Q&A afterwards. If you want to submit a question for the Q&A since we're live, you can do that by tagging me in the live chat with @ModernDayDebate. Otherwise, super chats work as well, as we read those first, and then we try to work through the standard questions as well. With that, thank you very much to all of our guests for being with us. The floor is all yours.
I want to quickly jump in and say that it is very strange that this whole debate on the Islamic side consists of deflecting from the actual point. For example, Nadir Ahmed, when challenged about all the violence and all the hate that Islam presents, jumps to, what about Ukraine? What about Russia? What about the Bible? What about this? What about that? Instead of focusing on the point. Half of his speech was about that. We talked very clearly about the Quran and about how the Quran, it was practiced by Muhammad, how it is practiced today. And we see in Quran chapter 9, verse 29, that it clearly says, and I want to read this in order to have some context here. Let me do that. Quran chapter 9, verse 29. It doesn't say, fight only those who fight you. It says very literally this, fight those who do not believe in Allah. Look, fight those who do not believe in Allah or in the last day, and who do not consider unlawful what Allah and His Messenger have made unlawful, and who do not adopt the religion of truth from those who were given the scripture. Fight until they give the jizya willingly while they are humbled. Now, does it say anywhere in here that you are supposed to only fight those who declare war on you or who fight you? No, it says very clearly, explicitly, I'm reading it from here. It says fight those who don't believe and who don't adopt Islam. That's it.
Well, can I answer you real quick?
Let me answer. Okay, please. This is exactly what ISIS does. Okay, they take one verse of Quran and chapter 3, verse 7. Let me bring it for you. Explain how to read Quran. Okay, let me 3:7. I read for you that.
Can we just stay on the topic and focus on the verse we're talking about?
No, it is topic. Yeah, you are reading Quranic verses, and you have to know how to read Quran.
Okay, go ahead.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explain how to read Quran. He says in chapter 3, verse 7, it is he who has sent down to you, O Muhammad, the book. In it are verses that are precise. They are the foundation of the book, and others are unspecifics. As for those whose hearts is corrupted, like you, ISIS, Taliban, they will follow that of it which is unspecific, desiring to create confusion and their own interpretation. And no one knows its true interpretation except Allah and those firm in knowledge. And they say, we believe in it, all of it is from our Lord.
Thank
you. No one will remind. Okay,
thank you. Let me ask you a question. Okay. Look, the verse. Let me ask you a question about the verse. We want to focus on that, right? So, what does the verse say? In the verse, whom does it want the Muslims to fight? What exactly does it say? Who is the target? Can you tell me that? In chapter 9, verse 29.
Okay, that's what I was trying to tell you, that when you take how those firm in knowledge understand the true meaning of chapter.
Can you answer my question?
Yes, I'm just
in Quran chapter 9, verse 29, it tells the Muslims to fight certain people. Who does it tell Muslims to fight?
Well, can I answer?
Okay, let me tell you. Let me tell you. AP. I tell you that if you take just that one verse, you will not understand.
Can you please answer my question? Who does it tell Muslims to fight in Quran chapter 9, verse 29?
Non-believers.
If you take just that verse, I say chapter 60, verse 8 says, Allah does not forbid you from those who do not fight you because of your religion and do not expel you from your homes, from being righteous towards them and acting justly towards them. Indeed, Allah loves those who are act justly.
Does it say? Do not fight?
I do want a quick. Why don't we jump to David for 2 minutes or 1 minute if you guys want to shorten it? Because I know, Nadir, that you want to jump in a little bit early on that last one, which is okay. I understand, because 2 minutes is a long time, and then we'll go to you, Nadir. I promise, right after David.
Okay, so
we're going to jump to David now. Instead of AP.
David?
All ready for you, David.
Oh, I'm starting? Okay. We have basically the same strategy going on from Muji and Nadir, which is to take a very clear verse and then say it's actually not clear because of this earlier verse or this other verse. And that other verse is where Allah says what he really means. And so if Allah in one place in the Quran earlier in the Revelations says, fight people who are attacking you, then later when he says fight those who do not believe, he must mean those who do not believe and who are attacking you, even though that's not what he said. Now, what's the problem there? Well, for 14 centuries, Islam has had a very simple methodology for reading Quran verses when it looks like, hey, these two things are commanding us different things. And the message is from the Quran itself, Surah 2, the doctrine of abrogation. Allah abrogates earlier revelations and gives new things depending on the circumstances. And so we see this in the life of Muhammad. When Muhammad's a persecuted prophet, it's peace and tolerance. When he can only fight defensively, but isn't in a position to subjugate people, the revelations change to one of defensive jihad. Then when Muhammad has the most powerful force in Arabia, the message changes once again to fight those who do not believe. Now, if when Allah says fight those who do not believe, he really means fight people who are attacking you. He had already said fight people who are attacking you. Why did he need to say this new thing that sounds like he's commanding you to fight someone completely different, especially when you read 929 in context, because the verses that come immediately after explain why you're fighting Jews and Christians. And it's, well, the Jews say Ezra is the son of Allah, and the Christians say the Messiah is the son of Allah. There's not one word there about, oh, and they're attacking you as well. And so,
okay.
Go ahead.
How long do I have?
2 minutes as well.
Okay, let's, so, I asked a very simple question. Now, let me first, there's a lot of information being given out. I'm going to address it one by one now. You see, Apostate, the reason why I brought up those statistics was to show that if you look at Muslims in comparison with other people, there's really not a whole lot of difference. We are fighting Christian jihad right now in Ukraine. Okay, so I'm showing you that those statistics really don't mean anything. And actually, Muslims fare very well. Now, let's get back to 929. You see, now look, what you are doing, you're taking the verse, you're cutting it out and say, okay, let's just look at 929. Fight the disbelievers, fight the disbelievers. Okay, AP, that's what it says, okay? But I'm asking you, let's perform proper exegesis and let's look at other verses which are also related to fighting non-believers. Let's go to 491. And you're saying, no, I don't want to go there. No, let's go there. Because when you read it in light of 491, the 491 spot check, it's so that if they do not restrain their hands from you, nor offer you peace, then you can take a hold of them and slay them. For them, you have a clear warrant. So 491 tells us you got to get a warrant first to fight. Okay, so that's all I was asking you to do is read it in light of other passages. It's just basic exegesis. Now, responding to David Wood with this canard, that you see when Islam is when Islam is weak, then they're defensive. This is his malicious, nefarious spin interpretation he's placing upon the text. There's no evidence for any of that. Okay, so, and of course, he really showed no evidence for that anyway. So the issue now, and then, David tried to say, okay, well, you see, the reason why you're supposed to fight the non-believers is because they were something about Uzair or something like that. Read the text carefully. Once again, another spin upon the text. It doesn't say because. And I ask you, what? Show me where it says this is the reason you fight them. Where is that?
So you can hear me. We'll kick it over to Apostate Prophet or David.
I want to be very good here and go to Quran chapter 4, verse 91, which Nadir frequently cites in order to explain that the Quran is actually a very peaceful book. It says here only that those who ask for security from you for their people, you should return that favor to them. And every time they return to disbelief, they will back into it, and so on. It of course doubts them again. If they ask for peace, give it to them, but then they will turn away and then seize them and kill them, and so on. It goes to that place again. Now, here is an issue. Imagine that I am a commander or I am a warlord like Muhammad, and I am in charge of a bunch of people. I tell them, go and fight whoever does not believe in what we are preaching. But then I also tell them, hey, if somebody asks for peace, for security, grant it to them. Okay, make peace with them. But they will turn away, and then you will seize them and kill them again. This is what I tell people. Do I hereby tell my followers that they should only fight those who are aggressive? No, not at all. I am clearly telling people that they should fight all those who don't accept what I preach. And I also add that if they come and want to make peace, you can make peace. Why in the world does the Quran, to begin with, in chapter 9, which is a chapter revealed toward the end of Muhammad's life, at the very end of the Quran's life, why does it command Muslims to fight those who do not believe? I simply have a very simple question. Quran chapter 9, verse 29 is only one verse. In this verse, we can analyze this whole sentence. It's usually written out as a whole sentence. In that sentence, please show me the object. It says, fight those who do not believe, yada, yada, yada. What exactly is the object in this verse? Who does Allah tell you to fight in this verse? How does Allah describe those whom you should fight? Can you please answer this question?
Oh, absolutely.
Muslims?
I'd love to do that. If I can go, James. So the Quran. First of all, let me first back up and go back to 929. I'm sorry, 491. The text specifically excludes people who are peaceful. It seems like you have glossed over that, apostate prophet. So because you put some bizarre interpretation spin on the verse so that you can get out of that. Not people who are peaceful, but there's no way out for you. Remember, I told you, because not only are we going to chase you out of the Quran, but we're also going to chase you out of the Hadith. So let's go there, because Muhammad actually explains how this verse is to be interpreted. This is from Sirah ibn Ishaq, and there's so many references like what I'm going to show you. Muhammad said, I will war against them that war against you, and be at peace with those who are at peace with you. Here we see a clear statement that we are at peace with people who are peaceful. Okay, so now here's what I love. Here's the battle. This is called the caravan raids, okay? And because these the polytheists were attacking the Muslims, and so the Muslims responded back. And so what's interesting here, and this is again, please look at my references on the screen. You just got to hit pause to get them. So what's interesting over here is Muhammad set siege to them, but one of the pagans said, hey, go send somebody out to Muhammad and let's just talk peace on this thing. As soon as they offered it, they said, let's just send this person to Muhammad, and now read the text which I have underlined over here. Then Muhammad returned back to Medina without meeting war. Why? Because the Quran said, 491, that if the disbelievers, if they're peaceful, you have no warrant against them. Now, I've just shown you
guys, excuse me. I asked a very simple question.
Muhammad.
I'm still not getting an answer. I asked a very simple question.
Another 10 seconds.
I'm
I promise
showing
I'll kick it
you
right back to you.
how the Quran is to be interpreted. I'm showing you from the life of Muhammad. Now, there's many. Now, in this book, Sirah ibn Ishaq, there's many battles taking place. Can you show me anybody in that book who were peaceful people, who were fought just on account of their religion?
And time.
AP, before you respond, let me just point out what's on the screen right there. The raid on Wadan, which was his first raid. So this is right after Muhammad and his followers leave Mecca. They flee Mecca, and they go to Medina, and then they start raiding. And notice that's in the phase where defensive jihad starts. And Nadir is taking a passage that says, in the passage he put on the screen, this is his first raid, and pretending that nothing ever changed. And notice all it says. He returned to Medina without meeting war. What happened? Nothing happened. He tried to go out and fight. It didn't work. That's what happened for several of his early raids. It was a total bust. And Nadir is taking a quote from there. And you see, this is Islam. This is interesting.
In fact, the Sirah itself clearly explains to us that Muhammad, upon establishing a little group in Medina of Muslims, repeatedly tried to raid the disbelievers, and it clearly explains to us. You should notice if you read the Sirah that the disbelievers finally sent their army, and the first battle took place because the Meccan polytheists responded to Muhammad's provocations and raids and decided to attack the Muslims in order to put an end to this threat. So it's very funny. You tell us about how we would escape to the Hadiths and the Sirah. Apparently, you have not read the Sirah ever, because that's how the history in there goes.
Yeah, and just 1 second. I just wanted to give a quick note for everyone who's watching, because some people have no clue what we're talking about. So I'm not responding to anything right now. Just when Muhammad and his followers left Mecca for Medina, Muhammad started launching raids against them, and he launched a raid and it didn't work out. Launched a raid. I think he launched 7 raids before one of them actually worked out. Yeah. And then, as AP pointed out, then they respond by sending out an army just to protect their supply. So notice who was fighting defensively here. The Muslims kept attacking. The polytheists kept defending. That's all I wanted to point out.
Well, let me respond to all that. Okay, so pretty much you could ignore everything Apostate Prophet and David Wood are saying, because these are nothing more than nefarious, malicious interpretations that they're spinning upon the text. Okay, there's many passages here, which clearly Muhammad is saying, okay, like I quoted over here, I will be at war against those that war against you, and I will be at peace.
Nadir, can we please end the screen sharing? You shouldn't dominate the screen with that, please.
Okay. Well, I actually have another reference.
Okay, but you should keep that for your opening statements. You shouldn't dominate the discussion with
screen sharing. Let me give
here.
you another one, since it's still not clear to these guys. Okay, now let us look. I will just quote this last hadith. Like I said, there's so many passages about being at peace with non-believers who are not fighting you. I mean, these are just some of the many. But the issue about the caravan raids, which I just want to correct you, Sirah ibn Ishaq made it very clear that the caravan raids was only a response to the persecution and the threats made and the attacks made by the Meccans. So that was, and what was the purpose of the caravan raids? It was to put a embargo against the city of Mecca, complete lockdown. The purpose of the caravan raid was to send a message to them, hey, listen, back off. We don't want war. That was the message of the caravan raid. Then we can go through Sirah ibn Ishaq. I got the references. We can look at all of that. Now I want to quote one more hadith just to light these guys up here, okay? Okay, so it says over here, the pagans were of two kinds, and their relationship to the prophet and the disbelievers. Some of them were those with whom the prophet was at war with, and the prophet used to fight against them. And then they used to fight against him. And the others was those with whom the prophet made treaties with. Neither did the prophet fight them, nor did he fight them. So chapter 9, verse 29, fight against the disbelievers. That's clearly not all disbelievers.
Okay, let's end the screen sharing, please.
Come on. Okay, so go ahead, please.
So I just want to clarify what's happening here. Nadir Ahmed is saying, ignore everything that David Wood and the Apostate Prophet are saying. Listen to us. The Muslims were just making sure that, to put an embargo on the disbelievers. They were just trying to protect themselves. So what is happening here exactly in that time that we are describing is that Muhammad and his people are supposedly persecuted in Mecca, where their home is. They go to Medina, settle there as Muslims. And after settling there and being far away from Mecca, where they were not wanted because they were very offensive toward the local polytheistic religion, the first thing that they do is to establish a force and then to immediately send out raiders in order to raid caravans which the Meccan polytheists have riding from Mecca throughout the Middle East. Muhammad is here not sending a warning out, not defending himself from a threat. No, he's sending people out in order to harass caravans that belong to the Meccan polytheists. This is not self-defense. This is Muhammad choosing to continue a conflict in a hostile way, which eventually, because of his own provocations, turns into a war and is nowadays by Muslims called a defensive war. It was not called so by the Muslims themselves in the very beginning. Now, I want to go back and repeat my question, which is apparently extremely hard. Quran chapter 9 verse 29 tells Muslims to fight certain people. Whom does it tell Muslims to fight? Can you please answer the question without deflecting?
Yes, maybe I also can talk, please. I have said, AP, you are exactly like ISIS. You take one verse of Quran, okay? One verse of Quran, and you say all these verses are trash. That verse you say is the entire Quran. Quran says, in chapter 60, verse 9, Allah only forbids you from those who fight you because of your religion and expel you from your homes and aid you in your expulsion. Quran chapter 29, verse 46 says, and do not argue with the people of the scripture except in the way that is best, except for those who commit injustice among them and say, we believe in, okay, I don't read the rest, chapter 2, verse 62, those who believe and those who are Jews and Christians and Sabians whoever believes in Allah and the last day and do righteous and good deeds shall have their rewards with their Lord. On them shall be no fear, nor shall they grieve. Quran chapter 3, verse 113. Not all of them are alike. Of the people of the book are a portion that stand for the right. They rehearse the verses of God all night long, and they prostrate themselves in adoration. So you just take one. There are many verses of Quran, but you just take one verse of Quran and you say, this is the whole picture, okay? And the whole picture says this. But there are so many verses of Quran that says, fight against those who fight.
Muji, you have given me many verses.
Yes.
None of these verses contradict chapter 9, verse 29. In fact, I can add a second question to my actual question, which is, can you give me one single Quran verse in which it says that Muslims are not allowed to fight those who do not attack them first? Can you find me one Quran verse which says Muslims are forbidden from fighting from fighting people who are peaceful or who are
I gave you chapter
91. There's so many verses.
Can you give me one?
Yeah, chapter 60 verse 8.
Okay, let's look at it.
Allah does not forbid you from
let's look at
those who do not fight you.
One second.
Yes.
One second along these lines, because I just wanted to add on the issue of methodology, because when we quote a Quran verse that says something very clearly, in a verse that Allah says is perfectly clear, we're saying we're hearing you're ignoring the rest of what the Quran says. But notice, so Muji brings up Surah 60 verse 8, and he thinks that this is saying be peaceful. If you just go a few verses earlier to Surah 60 verse 4, so same passage, and this is why there needs to be some methodology to conclude what Allah is actually saying, because Muji's right about this. You can take one verse and rip it out of context and completely distort the meaning, but you could do that with a peaceful verse as well. So just go four verses earlier, Surah 60 verse 4. Indeed, there has been an excellent example for you in Abraham and those with him, when they said to their people, verily, we are free from you, and whatever you worship besides Allah, we have rejected you, and there has started between us and you hostility and hatred forever until you believe in Allah alone. So this is the Quran. This is Allah in the Quran saying, here is Abraham, an example to you in this passage. Here's Abraham. He's an example. And Abraham, it's made up, but Abraham is saying to the unbelievers, there's hatred between us and you forever until you all only believe in Allah. And so we have to take these kinds of things into account when we're reading the same passage. But then we have to look at the Quran as a whole and say, why is it that the final marching orders sound like they're calling for violence against people just for being unbelievers? And then when you say, but you can't read it that way because of these earlier verses, but according to the Quran itself, when these verses contradict, abrogation occurred. And so the question is, which one came later? That's the one that applies.
Yeah, okay, so let me just answer some of that. First of all, you guys, I think Apostate Prophet and David Wood, they have a misunderstanding that, okay, well, why did the Quran even say fight against the non-believers? It should never say that. That's wrong. Fighting against the non-believers during the life of Muhammad was a right thing to do. And I'm going to prove it to you, and I'm going to show you why it is still a peaceful thing. Think about the historical context of 929. You've got the Roman Empire on the left. You've got the Persian Empire on the right. They have been locked in war for now 600 years. History tells us there's the longest war in history. Okay, so and this was a never-ending war. All kinds of horrible persecutions were taking place, in both these lands. And so, when you see this type of, never-ending war, Allah says this. He says, "Go and fight against the non-believers and subdue them." And that's exactly what 929 did. It conquered the Roman Empire. It conquered the Persian Empire. And it ended a 600-year war. I will also show you a historical reference where historians point to this verse, 929, and say, hey, listen, It is because of 929, this same verse David Wood and Apostate Prophet are complaining about is what saved the Jews from the genocide of the Christians. And I will show you that. But having said that, I want to just go back to 491, because 491, you know, what the verse basically states over there is that, you know, if people are not peaceful, then for them, you can slay them. And what the text says, for them, you have a clear warrant. You have a clear authorization against those people. So me as a sincere Muslim believer, not someone spinning nefarious, malicious interpretations, we got to pause and we got to think, hey, you got these peaceful tribe of people over here. Allah said, if they're peaceful, if they're not peaceful, okay, then you've got a clear warrant against them. So I'm going to pause. I'm going to stop. I'm like, wait a second. The 491 spot check is making me think twice before I attack a peaceful people who are restraining their hands. They're peaceful. How can I attack these people in light of the 491 spot check? So this is why we say that Islam is a religion of peace, because of 491 and also offensive wars, the misunderstanding David has and Apostate having.
I do want to kick it over. It's been...
Oh, I'm sorry. I talked a lot.
Listen to
the warrant argument. Go ahead.
Listen to what Nadir is saying here. He's saying it was completely justified for the Muslims to have the command to fight the disbelievers. But hey, also, Muslims are not allowed or not supposed to fight those who do not fight. How exactly does that work? How exactly does that work? I will tell you how it works. The Quran commands Muslims to fight those who don't accept Islam and who do not adopt Islam from the Muslims. Muhammad further explains this in the Hadith. We have many of those Hadiths. Muhammad explains in the Hadiths that he has come to fight the disbelievers until they testify that Allah is the only God and that Muhammad is his messenger. He further instructs his followers to go and to make to give certain options to the disbelievers. To say to them, you have several options. You can accept Islam, number one, and we will leave you in peace and move on. You will become our subjects and you will pay protection money, jizya, and you will be completely in our control and do whatever we say, but we will let you live. Or we can fight, and when we fight you, we will kill you, take everything that you have, take your women as captives, as slaves. Don't shake your head. You know that this is in your sources. Take your women as slaves, including having sex with those captives, by the way, enslaving your children, and so on. Muhammad himself explains this. This has been practiced throughout Islamic history. If you want to appeal to history, I can give you a wonderful source. Robert Hoyland wrote a book called In God's Path: The Arab Conquest and the Creation of an Islamic Empire. This is a book without agenda, and it puts down very clearly the early history of the Islamic expansion. It explains how the Muslims relentlessly, violently went out and fought and conquered and slaughtered whatever they could. They didn't even bother about spreading Islam at first. They just wanted to conquer as much as possible, and then in whatever they conquered, they spread Islam. This is how Islam established itself. The sources are given right here, and I'm asking you one very simple question, without deflecting from the point, without going to things that in no way contradict this command. Tell me, in Quran chapter 9, verse 29, it says, fight those who do not believe in Allah and His Messenger, right? What exactly is the subject? Since I know you will not answer the question and you have taken a great liberty at sharing your screen and putting it in our faces here, I would like to do that as well here on my part. Let's go ahead and do that. I would like to share my screen here and see exactly what it says here, and we can together analyze the structure of the sentences. Let's see. Do you see my...
Yep.
Okay, wonderful. So here is Quran chapter 9, verse 29. Apparently this is an extremely difficult Quran verse, which nobody seems to understand because I have been asking about it forever now. Before this Quran verse, we find that it instructs Muslims to keep polytheists who are unclean out of the sacred area, which belongs to Muslims. Then in chapter 9, verse 29, it says the following. Let's take this translation, Sahih International. Fight those who do not believe in Allah or in the last day, and who do not consider unlawful what Allah and His Messenger have made unlawful, and who do not adopt the religion of truth from among those who were given the scripture, fight until they give the jizya, protection money, willingly while they are humbled. Since the Muslims refuse to answer this question, let's do this very simply here. It says fight. It commands Muslims to fight. And whom does it command them to fight? Here is the object. Those who do not believe in Allah, 1. Those who don't believe in the last day, 2. Those who don't consider unlawful what Allah and His Messenger have made unlawful, 3. Those who do not adopt the religion of truth from those who were given the scripture, Christians and Jews. So those Christians and Jews who don't adopt Islam. So it clearly tells people to attack and fight the disbelievers who reject Islam and to humiliate them. And if you want the reason for that, in the next verse, it says that the Jews and Christians are disbelievers who are corrupt and so on, which is why you are supposed to fight them. You are welcome. This was apparently very hard.
So the issue, I think, which you guys ran away from, both David and Apostate Prophet, is 929 did end 600 years of never-ending war. 929 ended, and I did promise you a historical reference about how 929 not only did it end the 600 years war, but I want to quote to you the Jewish Virtual Library. The point here is fighting the non-believers at the time of Muhammad was the right thing to do. That's what the historians say. Here it talks about that the Christians declared that all the Jews must be killed in Jerusalem, yada, yada, yada. But look what the text over here says and what the historian says from the Jewish Virtual Library. It looked like the end of Judaism in Judea. However, things were going on in the Arabian desert, which within 7 years would change the picture of the Near East and of the whole world. And what is that? Surah 9, verse 29, the very same verse that Apostate Prophet is complaining about and David Wood is complaining about. What? So the point here is, at the time of Muhammad's life, that was the right thing to do. Non-believers had a lot of problems. And that's why Allah actually said in that verse, subdue them for God's sake. They've been fighting for so much evil. And what 929 did, it made the Romans, it made the Persians and the Jews who they were trying to massacre here. They made them all citizens under one nation. That's the beauty of the Quran. That's why even if we were to interpret 929 in an offensive way, what we must understand is offensive war doesn't make the Quran not peaceful. And I will quote for you one more reference from a 4th century Roman writer. And I'll give that to you in a second. He said, Si vis pacem, para bellum. Let me translate that for you. If you want peace, prepare for war. Sitting in a defensive posture, you will get conquered. You want peace, prepare for war. This is the way the world is. But like I said, the 491 spot check, which you ran away from, clearly states you need a warrant. Allah said, for those people who are not peaceful, you got a clear warrant to fight against them. So me as a Muslim, when I read that, I'm like, whoa, you really got to think, hey, are these people, should I fight and wage war against it in light of the 491 spot check? Okay, so I will answer your point about where Muhammad said, I have been ordered to fight until there's none but Allah. I'll answer that in my next time. Go ahead.
Yeah, can we get this off the screen here?
Sure.
All right. So a couple things here. One, notice everyone, Nadir's claim is that Allah ordered, Surah 9, verse 29, fight those who do not believe in Allah, to protect the Jews from the Christians and to end war. And of course, this led to 14 centuries of war. Islam spread west, Islam spread east, Islam fought its way across northern Africa up into Europe, Islam fought east out towards India and China. And so if Allah's plan was to end war by sending 929, my goodness, most epic fail ever. But notice what Nadir is saying. Allah sends Muhammad with this revelation to protect the Jews. So he's the same guy he sent who said, the end will not come until you fight the Jews, to the point where even if the Jews are hiding behind a tree or a rock, the tree or the rock will scream, there's a Jew hiding behind me, come kill him. That's the guy Allah sent to protect the Jews. And you can see how well that relationship is turning out to this day. As for 491, my goodness, let's just read that. Notice how the verse starts. Others you will find that they wish to gain your confidence as well as that of their people. as well as that of their people. Read the historical background. This is talking about people who come to Muhammad and say, there's no God but Allah, Allah ilaha illallah. And then they go back to their own people, and then they immediately turn back to unbelief. They're playing both sides of the field here. And so is this sort of some command that puts a check on all future revelations? No, read Tafsir Jalalain, read Ibn Abbas. It tells you the groups that these were talking about. This is not, here's the command for all future commands, so that when Muhammad says, I've been commanded to fight people until they say there's no God but Allah, and when Allah says, 929, fight those who do not believe in Allah, he's really saying, but make sure you go back to Surah 4, verse 91, where there were those people who were trying to claim that they're part of both groups. And then if they didn't guarantee you peace or just stay with you and not go back, then you had to slaughter them. You can't make up your religion as you go along, Nadir. Who says this? You guys keep saying we're making this up. The greatest Islamic scholar, and many Islamic scholars today, they agree with us. They're not saying, you have to go to Surah 4, verse 91. No one says that.
It's too
sure.
Go ahead.
Okay.
But does Muji want to say anything before we move?
Yeah, because I would like to say, first of all, not all Muslims believe in the same, things, like especially, for example, I have some disagreement with Nadir here, of course, and there are many Muslims who disagree with each other. So when UAP and, especially UAP, when you go around and demonize entire Muslim world and all Muslims, it is really terrible of you, because for example, when you had this, discussion with young Dom, you managed to make him an Islamophobe, Muslim hater within just 1 hour or something. I have clipped. I'm going to share for everybody to see that how you change. If I'm allowed, how you change him. Let me see if I can find it. Anyway, I will try to share it my next time, because I have to see how do I share that clip. Anyway, so you manage, because I don't believe in anything of what you say and ISIS and Taliban, okay, because you both have the same beliefs, all right? You just reject those beliefs and they follow it, okay? Both of you believe in a terrible, a barbaric Islam, and there are hundreds of millions of Muslims who do not agree with you and do not believe in what you believe, and you just follow one verse of Quran and say this is the entire picture, okay? And I have so many beautiful verses of Quran that says fight only those who fight you, okay? And be righteous towards those who do not fight you, those who who do not expel you from your home, and so on. So I will, on my next speech, I want to share that clip, that how you manage, to demonize entire Muslim. And unfortunately, if my neighbor, my non-Muslim neighbors see you and they know that I'm a Muslim, what they think about me, I hope that they don't see what you preach, okay? Because you really spread hate against entire Muslims.
I really do not care about what kind of a Muslim you are and what you believe in, and you playing the victim. Yes. I understand that you might be peaceful, but what you have to understand is that I am an ex-Muslim. There are your fellow Muslim YouTubers out there who make YouTube videos in which they clearly say that people like me are little weaklings and we should be executed, killed, because we believe Islam and spread corruption. There are a dozen Muslim countries in which leaving Islam is forbidden. In some of them it is punishable by death. And you want to come here and play the victim?
Let me see. Wait.
I actually like apostate.
But hey,
let's be sure it's not too much speaking over each other, otherwise we can't hear either side.
Let me come to my part, and let me share my screen here to talk about Jews, since I think Nadir made a huge blunder here.
I gotta I give you about just a bit over 2 minutes.
Yeah,
so
I'm just going to.
I was saying you perfect hour. So I gotta give I promise we can come back to you, but I want to give Apostate Prophet a chance to make his 2 minutes.
I think and James, next time Muji speaks, you could probably give him a little longer, because the rest of us spoke more earlier. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
And he's the victim. You need to give him more time. So Nadir Ahmed here talked about how peaceful Islam is and how it protected the Jews. I think nobody in their right mind would try to spread the notion that Islam is peaceful and then bring up Jews. I mean, are you kidding me? Let me share this here. Muhammad made many prophecies. Muslims around the world believe in Muhammad's prophecies, which are bound to come true. Let's see one of those prophecies, which is extremely famous in the Muslim world. Let's see what that prophecy says. This one is very well known. It is very well backed up, extremely authentic by Islamic standards. It says, Abu Hurairah reported Allah's messenger as saying, the last hour would not come unless the Muslims will fight against the Jews, and the Muslims would kill them until the Jews would hide themselves behind a stone or a tree, and a stone or a tree would say, Muslim, servant of Allah, there is a Jew behind me, come and kill him. But the tree Gargat would not say, for it is the tree of the Jews. This is in many Muslim sources, in Sahih Muslim, Sahih Bukhari, Riyadh al-Salihin, which is a book which compiles all the authentic reports of Muhammad. Put this into your head, let this sink in, everybody. Everybody who doesn't know about this, who has heard about this for the first time, look at what this says and let this go through your mind. Does this sound like peace? Does this sound like it teaches Muslims to be peaceful? Let me tell you what it teaches. I was a Muslim. I come from a very religious Muslim family. I grew up with Muslims and Muslim families who believed in the most apocalyptic nonsense, who believed in the imminent coming of the end. I remember times where I would sit down and I was told that the Jews will soon fight us and we should slaughter them, and even trees would protect them.
Can I respond to some of that real quick? Okay, so basically the hadith you are quoting, this is only talking about the Jews who were following the Antichrist. Okay, so this is not talking about all Jews. And this is an end time prophecy over here. Okay, so this is clearly no teaching that we should kill Jews or anything like that. You're reading that into the text. Once again, another malicious, nefarious spin upon our scripture. But I think both David and Apostate Prophet, they are not able to refute the historical fact that, yes, 929 saved the Jews from the genocide of Christianity. They are not able to refute the fact that it ended 600 years of war. So they basically started bringing up other issues. But what about this? What about this? Why did the wars continue? And I'll try to address all these points one at a time. Listen, if you don't hear me addressing some argument, it's not because I don't have an answer. It's because they're throwing a lot at me. And I'm an old man now, so I'm trying to address all their points. So I think, and Wood put some ridiculous spin, again, on the 929, 491 spot check. This is just not for all people. Okay, it's just for some people. I didn't get it at all, wherever he was going with that. But anyways, I want to just respond very quickly to the misquoted hadith. Wood said, okay, wait a second. Where in the Quran does it says to, this is that we're here to save Jews? Chapter 4, verse 75. What? This is the reason why you fight against non-believers, not because of their unbelief, as Apostate Prophet misquoted the Quran. He said it's because they're unbelievers. That's not what the Quran says. The Quran says in 475, and why don't you fight in the way of Allah against the disbelievers? You see helpless men, women, and children crying out, our Lord, deliver us from this town whose people are oppressive. Appoint us one who will basically protect us and save us. That's the reason why we fight against non-believers. So now he misquoted the hadith. He said, I have been ordered to fight the people until they testify. None has a right to be worshipped against Allah.
Can I also say something?
Sure.
My time's up. Yeah, all right. So first of all, I said that not everybody agree with each other. There are, for example, I disagree. I have said it from beginning. I disagree with the meaning of kufr, that is disbelief. I said chapter 16 verse 83, they recognize the favor of Allah, then deny it. The most of and it says, Allah says, and most of them are kafir. And then AP said that yes, they say Muslims say that he should be killed, and I have to say that yes, he helped them by quoting this all the time, that Islam says that the apostate should get killed, despite this is absolutely a big lie. And then he said this, about this prophecy of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Quran chapter 46 verse 9 says, I'm no different from the other messengers, nor do I know what will happen to me or to you. I only follow what is inspired to me. I am no more than a clear warner. Chapter 7, verse 187. They ask you, O Muhammad, about the hour, when its arrival. Say, its knowledge is only with my Lord. None will reveal its time except him. It lays heavily upon the heavens and the earth. It will not come to you open except unexpectedly. They ask you as if you are familiar with it. Say its knowledge is only with Allah, but most of the people do not know. There are many, many other verses that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Prophet Muhammad doesn't know when the hour comes and doesn't know the future. And these hadiths, they go against Quran, and apostate prophet take these hadiths. And I was trying to play that, that video clips that I have taken from his, talk, speech with Young Dawn, that he made him in just that 1 hour to hate all Muslims. Okay, and I want to please because I have recorded that. I want to play that one if it is possible somehow. Let me see if I can. Video. Okay, I want to share video.
You want to actually play the clip right now?
It's a very, very short clip. Okay, it doesn't. I don't know why it doesn't allow me.
If it works, I'm okay, because Muji's been pretty patient with the.
Yes, but I click on share. It says
it's also, by the way, Muji, it's very impressive how you made it appear as if it is my fault that Muslims tell me that I should be killed.
Yes,
because I gave
shame on you, AP.
No.
We need a scapegoat.
No,
shame on you, AP.
No, I didn't say. Look, don't change again my words. You see here, you change my word. I said you are helping them as well. Okay. Despite it is not what all Muslims believe in that, okay, and it is not what Islam says. I know that is.
Well, what about Nadir? Nadir, do you believe that people who leave Islam and who openly speak against Islam should be executed? So basically, do you agree with the majority opinion within the Islamic scholarly consensus about the killing of apostates?
Yeah,
it's not majority.
I don't think that's the majority opinion, but no, I don't think apostates should be killed. And there's evidence from the Quran and Hadith on that. In fact, I have no problem with you, Ridwan. You have a problem with me. You don't want to talk to me or see me. I mean, we're both from Peoria, Illinois. I guess, you're from Bloomington. So I'm not the one who has a problem with apostates. The apostates have a problem with me. I like them. So, yeah, but we'll get to the discussion of apostates at another time.
Hold up. Did he just dox the apostate prophet in the middle of a discussion about killing apostates?
Well, it was a very, very inaccurate doxing, but still, it's all right.
All right. Anyway.
All right, back to Muji.
Yeah, so it is not you, and I asked once, what is it? Because what I'm saying, and many Muslims say also, is not out of context, okay? It is Quran. Quran says in many, many verses, explain, and there are scholars, but you just always go to that, what ISIS and Taliban, the extremists, says that you see, Quran say, Islam say this, Islam say this. So even if somebody doesn't know Islam, okay, let's say, uneducated Muslim, and think that, yes, Islam said like this, want to kill you, okay? So if I'm there and I want to say that, no, Islam doesn't say this, okay, and he's going to kill you, yeah, would you support me at that time and say, no, what Muji says is Islam? Would you do that? I asked this Haris Sultan this question. He said, yeah, in that moment, to save my life, I will lie. Okay, despite, first of all, it's not.
I wouldn't. I would say that you are lying, that you are full of crap.
Yeah, so you would lie.
and that Islam is actually exactly what this terrorist who is about to kill me is practicing.
Yeah. Okay. So you would.
I wish you would also refrain from lying and actually read the Quran and the Hadith as they are, as the violent.
No. So you said Quran and Hadith. How about Quran? Okay. Is there anything in Quran that says that I have to kill apostates? Can you give me a single?
No, there is not. There is a hadith which explains that, which is why.
Well, and to be clear, the Quran does say that Muslims have to obey all of Muhammad's decisions, and Muhammad declared that apostates had to be killed.
Even in Shia Islam.
Can I jump in real quick here?
Yeah,
So I just wanted to just quickly address, because there's so many points over here. You know, a hadith was quoted where Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that I have been ordered to fight the people until they testify that none has the right to be worshipped. And so this is a commonly used hadith by these guys, but it is taken out of context. So when Muhammad said, listen, I've been ordered to fight them until they testify that none has the right to be worshipped. So they are trying to infer that if they say no, well, you kill them. Let's find out if that's true. So in the following hadith, which we have over here, just paraphrasing over here, somebody went to go kill Muhammad. He picked up a sword to kill him, but the sword dropped out of his hand. Muhammad then picks up the sword and he says, who's going to save you from me? He says, testify that I am the messenger of Allah. But now look what this guy says. He's got the sword right above his head. Now, normally most people would be like, okay, yeah, sure. But this guy says, no, but I promise that I will never fight against you nor support anybody against you. The Prophet let him go. Why? Because God said in chapter 491, if they restrain their hands from fighting, nor offer you peace, well, those people, then you can kill them. So here we see Muhammad is the best interpreter of chapter 4, verse 91, not David or apostate prophet. And so when you quote that hadith, you need to quote this one here. So what we see here is just this profound misunderstanding, ignorance of the Islamic texts. Okay, you just can't take that statement and run with it. You need to.
So let's deconceptualize this and talk about this.
I just wanted to give a quick response here. So my overarching theory, and the theory of various Muslim scholars over the centuries, and what I regard as the only plausible method of interpreting the Quran, is that the revelations changed over time, depending on the circumstances of the Muslim population. So that when Muhammad was a persecuted prophet, peace and tolerance. When they could fight defensively, then it's, hey, let's raid caravans and so on, because, you know, we have to get back at these guys. And then when he's the most powerful force in Arabia, then it's violently subjugate everyone. And we keep hearing these passages from these, this defensive stage, and then using that to reinterpret the commands of the offensive stage. And then Nadir, in response, quotes a passage from the expedition of Dat al-Rika, which is 625 AD. In other words, smack dab in the middle of the defensive jihad stage. That doesn't refute anything. He says we're misquoting this hadith. Let me just read it. Sahih Muslim, number 33. It has been narrated on the authority of Abdullah ibn Umar that the Messenger of Allah said, I've been commanded to fight against people. Notice that's pretty general, right? It's not people who are attacking you. I've been commanded to fight against people till they testify that there is no God but Allah, that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, and they establish prayer and pay zakat. And if they do what? If they say Muhammad is a true prophet, that then their blood and property are guaranteed protection on my behalf. So Nadir, that was what Nadir, the passage that Nadir quoted, if we just put them side by side with this, it would be a contradiction. But we don't want to say that Muhammad's just contradicting himself. So what happens? You put these things in context, and as Islam expands, it becomes increasingly more violent and tends to fight people
let me respond
for being unbelievers.
I can give you a quick 2-minute response, Nadir, and then we got to go into this. We have got one short section before we go into the Q&A that I want to get to, and then the closings, then the Q&A. So short.
Look at all the multiple points of failure. Number one, the text says, I have been commanded to fight. It doesn't say you have been commanded to fight. That's the first point of failure. Second, is it fight the people? Why doesn't it say the disbelievers? Who are the people? Even till today, scholars don't even know who the people are. That's number two. He said, okay, but it's not refuting my point. It's contradicting. There's no contradiction between the text which I quoted and which you quoted. When it said, I have been ordered to fight the people until they testify. But what I'm quoting you is, what if they say, no, I will not be a Muslim? So, but you know what? I'm not going to fight against you. And when Muhammad heard those words, he put down the sword, and the guy walked away. And he said, I came from the best of mankind. So one good thing I did like about David, he walked back that nonsense about this is the defensive stage. It's my theory. He said, it's a theory. And I'm glad you said that. But this in reality is nefarious, malicious interpretation of our text. There are no stages, okay? I have read this. I've been reading the Quran and Hadith, and I'm looking for these stages. It's not. He has got this malicious interpretation of our books. So he's reading all that into it. Okay, so I think that the main point here, there's no getting around the 491 spot check. Okay, the 491 spot check says you need a warrant to go out and kill people, and it tells you the list. Are they peaceful? Are they restraining their hands? Okay, well, if they're not doing that, then you can clear them. Well, you got a warrant in that case. And somehow they're trying to weasel their way around the 491 spot check. It doesn't work. But I think that, I wasn't able to address all the points. There's so many points flying left and right. But the most important thing I think over here is, the reasons for warfare. The Quran lists the reasons of why you go fight all non-believers. And when you read the list, they're all really noble. They're all really good reasons. Like, for example, you see these people persecuted. They're crying out, who will rescue me? That's a very good reason. And so one of the things I love about Islam, when you do look at the reasons behind warfare, they're all noble and good.
Got to jump into what we're going to do now is we did this new, you could say, feature on Modern Day Debate where we ask the audience, we poll them on what subtopic under the broader topic of the debate question for the night they'd like to have talked about by each of our guests. The one that was the most popular we had Quranic verses, we had Hadith verses, we had is Osama bin Laden a true Muslim, and then we had is ISIS Islamic. So that was actually, namely, is ISIS Islamic was the most popular topic, or I should say subtopic, of tonight's debate that people wanted to hear all four of our guests weigh in on. So I want to give each of you a chance. I want to start with Apostate Prophet, then we'll go over to Perfect Dawah, then we'll go to David, and then we'll go to Nadir, and then we'll go into those closing statements. We'll give you each about a minute. Thanks so very much. Apostate Prophet, the floor is all yours.
Well, thank you so much. I want to say, wait a second, I just want to keep track of my time in order to not go over it. So whether ISIS are Muslims or not. Well, I want to quickly say, I think the debate today is very much, it's done, it's over. We have presented everything that the Quran says, everything that the Hadith say. The Quran clearly ordered the Muslims to fight the disbelievers. At first, I heard for many minutes from the Muslim side.
After this, though.
Oh, okay, yeah, yep. Sure. You do. So, okay. So now you want me to, for 3 minutes, talk about that, or
just for about a minute or so?
Okay,
whether
sure.
or not ISIS is Islamic.
Okay. Is ISIS Islamic? I would say they are Islamic in the sense that they certainly are Muslims. Their leadership, the people who were in high ranks within ISIS, and the people who joined ISIS were truly under the assumption that they are Muslims and that they follow Islam and that this is what Islam requires from them. They had all the sources, all the backing from religious history and scholarly authorities from the last 1,400 years, which told them that they have to establish a caliphate and fight for Islam, fight the disbelievers, and also fight those within who refuse to obey Islam. In that sense, they certainly were Muslims. Does that mean all Muslims are supposed to be like ISIS? No, I don't think so. I think ISIS are actually, I can say, very extreme within the Muslim community, and most Muslims do not agree with ISIS. But that doesn't make them non-Muslims. They certainly were Muslims.
You got it? And then right. Perfect Dawah?
Yeah, I would like to say if ISIS had oil like Iranian ISIS regime, then the West wouldn't highlight them so much, because Iranian regime has killed, massacred millions of people that ISIS didn't reach to do. But unfortunately, the West doesn't talk about Iranian ISIS regime because Iranian regime has oil and gas, and they even try to help them, to save them, despite people on the street are. And Iranian regime is not, they don't believe in anything but money, okay? So they abuse religion to oppress people so that they can rob people, and the West support them because they inflame the Middle East, and they can sell their weapons to the Middle East, and they can buy cheap oil, and then Iranian people regime, those oil money that they take, they bring them to USA, to Canada mostly, and they put them in their banks. So there are so many reasons that why the West support the ISIS regime of Iran. So ISIS is not just that organization. Iranian regime is much worse than that ISIS organization, but unfortunately, the West doesn't talk about this regime and doesn't, say what they are doing because they need them. Unfortunately, so these are not religion; these are just business and politics.
You got it. And we'll go over to David.
Well, we agree on something. Iran is pretty terrible. As for ISIS, I mean, you're going to have to really break down why they would not be Muslims. Are they reciting the Shahada? Yes. Do they believe in the 5 pillars? Yes. Do they believe in the articles of faith? Yes. So, but that doesn't mean they're Islamically correct on anything. But if you're going to say you have to be Islamically correct on everything in order to be Islamic, then you're going to rule out lots and lots and lots of Muslims. You're going to find out there's almost no Muslims in the entire world. And so, I mean, if you look at what they're fighting for, they're fighting to revive the caliphate, to bring about, the prophecies of Islam, so that Islam can start expanding again. They were trying to crack down on apostasy and hypocrisy because they didn't believe that Allah is going to bless the Muslim community to take over the world until they deal with these problems in society. And that's why the leader, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, gave himself that name, the Abu Bakr of Baghdad. He's taking on the role of Abu Bakr, who, as AP pointed out earlier, went on a killing spree of people who had declared themselves Muslims but were not living appropriately in order to cleanse the Islamic community in the eyes of ISIS. That is what prepared the Muslim community to go on its conquering spree. And so they're trying to do the same thing. If you want to say they're wrong about this or that, you could say that, but to say that they're not Muslims or not Islamic would be a huge stretch that I think would rule out pretty much all Muslims.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, should I go real quick?
Yep.
Yeah. So let me give you a better source of this information than Apostate Prophet and David would. And the U.S. military, they've researched this topic, and not only that, but many different organizations like the Rand Corporation. And from their findings, you will never hear any expert from the military calling ISIS Islamic. I just want to quote one guy. Now, I'm not cherry picking here. I can give you many references from the military who is basically, denying this claim. I want to quote Carter Malkisian. He's the author of The American War in Afghanistan. He served as a civilian advisor in Iraq and Afghanistan and was a senior advisor to General Joseph Dunford, and it goes on. Look what he says on his research of this topic. He says, Islam is a source of unity and inspiration, not of terrorism or an atrocity. That's his quote. I'm not cherry picking. Maybe this guy said something nice about Islam. I can give you many references like this. I want to give you another source from the military, David Petraeus. I've been following him for over 10 years now. He spoke a lot on this topic. Guess what you don't hear him saying? Oh, they're just being real good Muslims. They're just following Islam. The people who are experts on this topic, you will never hear them say that nonsense. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to these guys. Follow the experts.
You got it. We'll jump into these closing statements as well. Want to say thank you very much to our guests. It's been a tremendous one. And stick around, folks. We still have the Q&A as we'll zip through those questions. We're going to start with, as we started with at the very beginning, Apostate Prophet and David Wood. We're going to start with him as well for a 6-minute closing, split between the two of them for 3 minutes from each. Thank you very much, Apostate Prophet. The floor is all yours.
Thank you so much. I think the topic is very clear. The result of it is very clear. We have demonstrated many sources in which Muslims are clearly instructed to fight those who do not believe in Islam and who do not accept Islam. Muslims are also told that if their enemies, whom they are supposed to fight to begin with, do not want to fight and want to make peace, then Muslims are supposed to, make an arrangement and find peace. But does that change the initial command of fighting those who do not accept Islam? No, of course it doesn't. It's very clear. Nadir himself even agreed eventually that the Quran does indeed command Muslims to fight the disbelievers, but then he turned it around and said that this is actually a good thing because it solved all the problems in the world, which is very ironic because all those people who were slaughtered would probably disagree with that. Islam did not spread to the whole geography where Islam is practiced today by spreading flowers and roses. Islam spread to most of where it is today through wars. I want to, in fact, take a quote from a very respected, very famous, very respectable individual whom the Muslim world and Muslim academics know. His name is Ibn Khaldun. He's considered, even in the West, as a major forerunner of sociology, and he's a big historian and very well respected within Islamic history. This is what he has to say in his great masterpiece, Muqaddimah. In the Muslim community, the holy war is a religious duty because of the universalism of the Muslim mission and the obligation to convert everybody to Islam, either by persuasion or by force. Therefore, the caliphate and royal authority are united in Islam so that the person in charge can devote the available strength to both of them at the same time. This is not what I am saying or what some bigot Islamophobe says. This is what one of the greatest historians in Islamic history, Ibn Khaldun, says, whom Muslims and non-Muslims still respect for his contributions and his deep understanding of Islamic culture and society and religion. Islam is not merely meant to take over the world until everybody believes in Islam. It is also meant to establish societies in which Islam is the ruling force, and all the others, if they do not convert to Islam, are second-class citizens known as dhimma or dhimmis, who live under Islam and who don't have the same rights as Muslims, who can't build their own places of worship, who can't make noise, and so on, and in which apostates are executed. Now, some people like these gentlemen here might not entirely agree with that part, but the Islamic consensus is that this is pretty clear. Apostates are to be executed. There is a lot more to that. Slavery is part of Islam, raping slaves is part of Islam, and so on. Hating Jews is part of Islam. It's all pretty clear. Stay away from Islam. Thank you.
You got it. We'll kick it over to David Wood. Thank you very much.
So AP quoted Ibn Khaldun. Abu Bakr said something very similar when he's talking to people who had declared themselves Muslims but who were not paying the zakat properly and so on. He talked about Allah sending Muhammad with his truth to creation. And then he said, so God guided with the truth. This is Al-Tabari, volume 10. So God guided with the truth whoever responded to him. And the apostle of Allah, with his permission, struck whoever turned his back to him until he came to Islam willingly or grudgingly. Struck whoever turned his back to him until he came to Islam willingly or grudgingly. So whether you want to come or not, you're coming to Islam. So that's Abu Bakr. And of course, I'm sure Nadir can respond with General David Petraeus as an authority on Islam. Notice who we're quoting. But the problem is, no matter who we're quoting, we can quote the most trusted hadiths, we can quote the Quran, and Muslims today in our world believe that they're just free to add words. So Allah says, fight those who do not believe. They add the words out of their own heads. It's fight those who do not believe and who are attacking you, even though it totally contradicts the historical context and the passage itself. Muhammad says, you're going to fight the Jews until the rocks and trees are calling out. Nadir says, it's the Jews who are following the Antichrist. Muhammad said, I've been commanded to fight people, until they say there's no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger. And Nadir says, but if I go to this other passage from earlier, then if you try to kill Muhammad, then you're free to leave. So what you find is that you can basically justify anything you want if you're willing to adopt this methodology. Allah claims in the Quran over and over and over again to be clear in his revelations. 3:7, of course, of the Quran contradicts that. Muslim scholars reconcile this by claiming that Allah is clear in his commands. And if Allah is clear in his commands, and he commands all these different things, and he says that the method to use is one of abrogation, then everything falls into place. So the traditional Islamic method is you've got these different revelations at different times commanding different things. There's the doctrine of abrogation. That's how you navigate them. Muslims today say, no, the real method is we pick whichever teaching we like, and then we use that to reinterpret all the clear commands that come later that completely contradict our interpretation. And so I'll just say, given the interpretations we've heard from Nadir and Muji, if these are the correct interpretations, 14 centuries of Muslims missed this. The 4 rightly guided caliphs missed it. Again, 14 centuries of Muslim scholars missed these interpretations. And so if that was Allah's intent, Allah is the worst communicator in the entire history of forever, because no one is getting the truth about Islam except for these two.
We'll kick it over to Muj or Perfect Dawah, and then we'll kick it over to Nadir for that final 3 minutes. 3 minutes is all yours, Perfect Dawah.
Yes, I would. There are a lot of different subjects that we can talk, but I have to say, especially to AP, that not everybody believe in those trash that you have been taught, like your parents. You were saying in your video, were teaching you that at the end we go and kill all Jews, and not everybody believe in the Islam you believe and David Wood and ISIS and Taliban believe in. So there are hundreds of millions of Muslims around the world that are peaceful, and they don't believe in all these wrong interpretation of the Quran, and then those fabricated hadiths that you bring up and share. So I would just say that unfortunately ISIS, Taliban, and people like you who demonize entire Muslim world are dangerous, because if people as I said before, if people listen to people like you, my neighbors, they would hate me because they don't know that I don't believe in such a trash. And they would please learn a little bit more about Christianity. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Doesn't mean that I have to go to my Christian neighbors and say, I love you, and, I mock their religion and say your religion is terrible and so on. So Jesus, peace be upon him, has taught you these beautiful words, so please follow them correctly, okay? So, thank you, and stay away, I say, to everybody, I say stay away from, ISIS and Taliban and these two gentlemen, I would say.
You got it. We'll kick it over to Nadir. Thank you very much.
Si vis pacem para bellum. Now, if you want peace, prepare for war. The misunderstanding Apostate Prophet and David Wood have is that you got to be in a complete defensive posture, but we know historically that has never worked. That's why that 4th century writer wrote that, and it has played out true time and time again. Every peaceful nation engages in some kind of offensive war. Why? Because you got to fight them over there, so you don't have to fight them over here. It was really funny to see David Wood and Apostate Prophet run from the historical facts. The very verse they are complaining about, chapter 9, verse 29, it ended 600 years of never-ending war and all the atrocities which were taking place between the Roman Empire and the Persian Empire. It conquered both, and it made them as nations, citizens under one nation. But not only that, we saw from the Jewish Virtual Library, 929 had a wonderful impact on humanity. It also saved the Jews from the genocide of Christianity. And I loved how the writer of the Jewish Virtual Library says things were going on in the Arabian desert. The end of Judah, the end of Jews and Judaism was imminent. But something was going on in the Arabian desert that would change the course of the world and save them from the genocide of Christianity. And that is the very same verse that these guys are complaining about. So that is why I say Islam is a religion of peace. We also saw some cheap shots in their closing where they're trying to show that Islam was or something about forced conversions. But remember my prophecy in the beginning of this debate. I said, we're going to chase him out of the Quran. We're going to chase him out of the Hadith. And then they're going to go to commentaries and try to quote people's commentary like Ibn Khaldun. And that prophecy came true. They were quoting commentaries, and when in their closing statements, when they're like, okay, Nadir can't touch me now, and point out that I'm just quoting commentaries, because they couldn't argue their case from the Quran. They couldn't argue their case from the Hadith because of the Hadith, which I quoted, which explained Muhammad's statement, where he put down the sword when he said, hey, listen, I'm not going to accept Islam, but hey, I'm not going to fight against you. Muhammad put down the sword. And he told him to go ahead. And he went back to his people and said, I have just come from the best of mankind. I believe this is an airtight case for why Islam is a peaceful religion. Because even though there is, war passages, this excludes peaceful people. And we've seen this played out in the caravan raids. They put some nasty interpretation spin on the caravan raids to try to make it Muhammad was the aggressor. But they showed no evidence to back up their claims. So we saw that. Okay, time's up.
With that, we'll kick into the Q&A. I want to say thank you very much for your questions, folks. All of our guests are linked in the description, so if you'd like to hear more, you certainly can by clicking on those links below. You can even have more than one tab open. You can have 5 tabs. You can click on each of our guest links in the description box. That includes if you're listening via the podcast. All of our debates end up on the Modern Day Debate podcast within 24 hours of the debate, and our guests, AP, David Wood, Nadir, and Perfect Dawah are all linked in the description box there too. With that, this first question coming in from Do Appreciate It. Zagros Azcan says, according to Perfect Dawah, are Smurfs, I think he means like the blue cartoon characters, Muslims. I don't know what he means. Like Perfect Dawah, what does this mean?
What?
Nobody knows what it means? Okay, Sunflower. They said, Nadir and Perfect Dawah, right now in Iran, schoolgirls and women are removing their hijabs to protest the death of a woman who was killed by cops for refusing to wear a hijab. Does Islam permit protests of this nature?
All right.
Well, if I could just answer. Go ahead. Since you're Iranian, you're a good source.
Yes. That's absolutely. I said that this regime is oppressive, a mafia regime, and they don't believe in anything. Even if you had the minimum knowledge about about Iran, you would know that Khomeini's deputy, whose name was Ayatollah Montazeri, he went against him because he saw that despite he was a extremist himself, but because he really believed in Islam, so he went against Ayatollah Khomeini and said that, no, what you do is not Islamic, okay? And you massacring people, all these things you do is not Islamic. That's why he lost his place, and he didn't become leader, and another corrupted liar mafia man, he became the leader. So this regime is a mafia regime and has nothing to do with Islam. Whatever they do is to stay in power, and they are a bunch of robbers. They rob the country. They have billions of dollars. That the leader was very poor. Now he's over $100 billion rich. So they don't believe in anything, and whatever they do is not Islamic. Of course, protesting. But I just say fast, the biggest enemy of this regime is a Muslim organization, by the way.
You got it.
Okay.
This one from Messiah says, Quran 8:12, it says, Allah will instill terror into the hearts of the unbelievers, smite ye above their necks, and smite all of their fingertips off of them. Why cut all their fingertips off?
Yeah, I can answer that very quickly. So basically, this is something which a punishment from Allah. It doesn't tell Muslims to punish your enemies in this way. Now, one thing which actually wasn't raised in this debate is Where in the Quran do you find passages where it teaches you to go into a child's bedroom and stab him to death, like inside David Wood's Bible? You know that there's verses which teach us to murder innocent women and children. And what we found in tonight's debate, you don't find that in the Quran. And that's the difference between the Bible and the Quran. And actually, one of the things which we've seen, Islam actually corrects the terror. The 491 spot checks forbids people to walk into children's bedroom and stab them to death like David Wood's Bible teaches. And I will actually put out a challenge. Show me in the Quran where it explicitly teaches to kill children or anything like that. You'll never find that. That's terror. That's what you find in the Bible.
This one coming in from Kurt Hanneman says, if the Quran is the perfect word of Allah for all time and easy to understand, why do so many Muslims and imams interpret it violently?
I can answer that very quickly. If you look at what Muslims say today about what I told you, Islam is peaceful, with those people are peaceful. If you go to just type Islam is peaceful with those who are peaceful dash Islam QA. Islam QA is one of the biggest or most reputable Islamic scholarly websites, and you will get the religious edict on that. That's what they all agree. It is the Islamic lands which was attacked and invaded by Russia, Israel, and other than them. So a lot of this is defending the homeland. So it was only after the invasions is when you saw this type of reaction coming. So that is a real source of why we see terrorism.
This one coming in from Deej says, Pew Research in 2015 found that 60 million Muslims in the Middle East supported ISIS. Over 250 million Muslims answered undecided regarding ISIS. How are that many people, quote unquote, misinterpreting Islam if it's peaceful?
I have never seen any statistic like that. I have already shown you statistics where it was showing that the people.
I mean, the source is very clearly given there. I mean, if you want to contest the source, I would suggest going there and analyzing that. But here's the thing: it's not just about supporting ISIS. Half or more than half of Muslims agree that Sharia should be the law. Half of Muslims agree that apostates should be executed. Most Muslims agree that adulterers should be stoned to death. That criticizing Islam should be illegal. Yes, most actually 80% or so believe that.
All right. Where did you get that?
And these are Pew Research, and these are very common numbers. Most Muslims believe that Islam actually orders these things that we talk about. By the way, if you want to look at actual Islamic history, I would suggest this book, In God's Path by Robert Hoyland. You can see a very clear history of how Islam actually spread. Don't believe me. Don't believe these guys. Read this book. Look for yourself.
Okay, believe in that book.
You got it. Yes. I want to give you a chance to respond, though. So let's say for the sake of argument, Nadir and Perfect Dawah, granting that the statistic is true, what would you say?
Yeah, so this has already been explained by the military experts. And I think the one I will quote is Chuck Schumer. He said the reason why people supported ISIS was a response to the barbarity of Bashar Assad. The father of ISIS is Bashar Assad. When they witnessed the atrocities committed and how the whole world just turned their backs to what was going on in Syria, this is what fueled ISIS. This is what fueled people from coming all over the world to fight into ISIS. Because in the beginning, ISIS, they didn't really know the ideology. They rushed into this, then they found out, oh my God, this is what they're doing. ISIS was actually killing more Muslim people than the Syrian regime. So it's the political, what all the experts agree on. They all agree that the reason of what created ISIS, it was number one, the religious persecution at the hand of the Shias inside Iraq. It was a barbarity of what took place in Syria. This is what fueled ISIS and the support for it. But if you take that same poll today, now that we know what ISIS is all about, nobody supports them. It's the Muslims who fought and defeated them.
You got it. This one coming in from, do appreciate it, Radar Apologetics says, love this. Big shout out to Apostate Prophet and David Wood from Rabbi Eduardo at Radar Apologetics. Thanks for that. And Anton Gomez says, question for AP and David Wood, what is your opinion about Muhammad Hijab?
Muhammad Hijab?
Correct.
AP, you can vouch because we talk behind the scenes. Do I love this guy or do I love this guy?
You absolutely love Mohammed Hijab. I know that. I'm serious. Whenever I bring up Mohammed Hijab to David Wood in private, he's like, or when I say, hey, Mohammed Hijab actually went on this show, or he talked to Jordan Peterson, David is like, fantastic, you know?
Yeah,
So,
and I'll just say why that is. And you can include Ali Dawah and what's his name? The guy, what's his name? That man, what's that other guy's name?
Daniel Hakikachu.
Yeah, Hakikachu. Yeah, it's basically when I started, debating Islam and so on. This was in the 2005, 2006. I don't remember, sometime back then, and almost every Muslim apologist you talk to, there's no death penalty for apostasy. Islam is all about peace. Islam is all about freedom and all these things. And we're reading the Muslim sources and thinking that that's not what these sources say, and yet it's what their popular apologists were saying. And then you get this sort of new generation of Muslims, and they're saying basically what a lot of the Muslim sources say, and it's just refreshing, right? It's just cool. Oh my goodness, please be honest, so that when people see you, they're getting a more accurate picture of what Islam is.
David, what we're saying is that when we open up the Quran, we don't see verses to stab babies to death like what is in the Bible, and that is why Christians run away.
I would say my opinion on.
Oh, I just wanted to say, if Nadir is claiming that, and we're debating now, the Quran orders Jews and Christians to judge by the gospel and to obey the Torah and the gospel. So if you're saying that's in the Torah, you're saying that's in the Torah, and Allah commands to obey the Torah, then that would mean that Allah is commanding it. And so you've just refuted your own God and shown
we don't believe
that
in
it's
that,
far more.
It's
far more violence.
Look, he can't defend. He cannot.
Yeah, just to quickly answer the.
Defend it, so you're supposed to follow this. You notice how
it's a very nice distraction from
the Jews. The Jews
teach
to follow that stuff. Okay.
The Jews came to Muhammad and they asked to settle a dispute.
At another time.
You don't want to listen.
Okay, let's talk about Mohammed Hijab. Let's talk about Mohammed Hijab. So I would say, in my opinion, I just want to say clearly, if you want to learn about true Islam, listen to those Muslim apologists who are actually popular with Muslims, not Nadir Ahmed and Muji here. Listen to Mohammed Hijab, Daniel Hakikachu, Ali Dawah. They will show you very clearly, without us needing to do anything, what real Islam is. Find out about those guys.
And by the way, that this is similar to the point about like ISIS. Why did so many people follow ISIS and so on? It's, hey, if Islam doesn't really teach any of this, why, when you have someone like, let's say, Ali Dawah say, yeah, we're going to kill you, and that we're proud of that, and he becomes one of the most popular people around. And it's why are people drawn to these guys rather than to, let's say, Muji? I like Muji's version of Islam way better than I like these other guys. So why aren't more people following Muji rather than Ali Dawah and Hakikachu and Muhammad Hijab?
I just quick want to say that's one thing that I would like to say. Those who really want to fight these extremists, please go and subscribe, because many times they say that, oh, nobody follow you, nobody just, believe in what you say, you are just, few. So please go and subscribe and support my work against these, extremists. And yes, I myself say that they are really, harming Islam. These people like Daniel Hakikachu and Ali Dawah, and many Muslims have also problem with their version of Islam and the way they do dawah, unfortunately.
Would you say they're not true Muslims?
I hate to say this, but we've got to move. We got so many questions. This one from Coffee Mom says, is the Iranian government wrong to subjugate women?
Yes, I think so.
Let me tell you, yes, definitely they abuse such a things as an oppressive, to oppress people, to say that we are in control. Yeah, they don't believe themselves. I can show, if I was able to, share with you, you would see their children, these authorities, these leaders, their children, when they come to the West, they are totally naked, you know. They do all kind of things that is forbidden inside Iran. First of all, they are robbers. They have billions of dollars, millions of dollars outside the country, and we share such things on the on media that look, their children, just 5,400 Iranian leaders' children are in the West, and they are citizens there, and you cannot imagine how they dress when they go in Iran and how they dress when they go outside. So they don't believe at all themselves in what they preach, and what they force people inside Iran. It is just for oppressing people and keeping control and robbing the people. That's all.
You got it. Thank you very much for this question. Coming in from Helper of Man says, would AP and David be considered peaceful under Sharia law or according to Muhammad?
No, we would be considered people who spread corruption in the land in Surah 5, verse 33 of the Quran. And matter of fact, that's exactly what Ali Dawah said about AP. He said, those of you who reject your religion and cause corruption in the land. He was appealing to Surah 5, verse 33, which if you guys were if you guys were asking, where's the Quran talk about killing apostates and so on, I would say because Surah 4, verse 65 commands Muslims to follow the decisions of Muhammad. And Muhammad clearly said, if anyone leaves his Islamic religion, kill him. There you have it. But Surah 5, verse 33 refers to the vague crime of causing corruption in the land. And even very popular Muslims like Ali Dawah say that this would include exactly what AP does by publicly being an unbeliever and vocalizing his unbelief. And me, because I'm a critic of, I'm not an apostate, but I'm a critic of Islam. And so, yeah, we would not be considered fine under Islamic law. We'd be killed.
I would like to also
to that. I just want to say something like real quickly. So, we're kind of introducing opening a new can of worms of apostasy, Islamic law, all in the question and answers time. So we're really not going to do justice to the topic. So I'll just make one statement very quickly. I would say no, because Islam is very flexible in its laws to accommodate the needs of the people. So I would say no. I would not see them, as people who would be killed, as David Wood is saying. But that's going to be another topic. But I think it is funny. I think it is really funny how, the fact that the Bible teaches to murder innocent babies.
I had a feeling you were going to take it off the subject.
Can I
David?
Go ahead, Dawah.
Yeah, can I respond to that?
Yeah.
First of all, David, with that chapter 5, verse 33 has nothing to order Muslims to do anything. That's passive, verbs. That it says that this is what happens to them, and in Quran actually explain in other verses that who does such a things to them is Pharaoh, is the pagans themselves who crucify people, and if they do not follow Allah's commands, Allah's laws, then one day it is exactly like you live by sword, you die by sword. So there is nothing in that verse that's command Muslims to do such a things against others. And in the Sharia law, I believe no, you are not going to be persecuted at all as long as you are not taking weapon and fighting us. Okay, that's all.
Well, just one question, because I'm not familiar with that with that interpretation there. But when that verse says, so the recompense of those who wage war against Allah and His Messenger and do mischief in the land is only that they shall be killed or crucified, or their hands and their feet be cut off on opposite sides, or be exiled from the land. That is their disgrace in this world, and great torment is theirs. That's saying that because you oppose Allah and His Messenger, then unbelievers are going to do these things to you. Okay. They're going to exile you from the land and so on.
Yeah, let me tell you. Chapter 7, verse 124 says, Pharaoh.
I was just looking for a yes. I was wondering if I misunderstood you.
Yes. I will certainly cut off your hands and feet on opposite sides, then crucify you all. Chapter 20, verse 71. Pharaoh said, have you believed in him before taking my permission? He is surely your great one who has taught you magic. So I will cut off your hands and feet from alternate sides, and I will certainly, I will crucify you on the trunks of palm trees. So this is what pagans were doing to each other. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is not a command.
So wait a minute, you're not answering the question though. The Quran clearly says there that those who oppose or fight Allah and His Messenger, their punishment is that you exile them or kill them or crucify them or cut off their hands and feet from opposite sides. Okay. How in the world is that what the Pharaoh or what others did when the Quran itself says?
Okay.
I'll give you a chance to answer really quick, and then this is actually a two-part question, so we're still on the same question. Go ahead, perfect Dawah, or then we gotta
if I say that if you smoke, your punishment is that you get cancer, it doesn't mean that I'm going to give you cancer. So there is no any command in that verse that says, and I told you, I read for you.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
It makes sense.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
Yes.
This one, the Helper of Man also asked, they said, given that AP and David would be considered peaceful or not under Sharia law, they said, would it, under Sharia law, be lawful for David and AP to be persecuted or killed according to Islam?
Not according my, Sharia law. Not mine, of course. Those who believe the same, and we are definitely millions and maybe hundreds of millions, but we will grow. We are growing, and if definitely in the Sharia law, we believe, no, definitely they are not going to be. Everybody are, there is no compulsion in religion as long as you don't take weapons.
Good luck. We understood that. Well, what about Nadir? What do you think?
Nadir, you're going to bite the bullet?
Yeah, so basically, as I told you, Islamic law is very flexible and it's very accommodating. And so I don't see any need, or basically, to make a long story short, David and Apostate would basically be denied visas to come to the Islamic world. I think that's the most we are going to find.
That was not the question.
Oh, what was the question?
Hey, but by the way, Zakir Naik says that we should be invited to Muslim countries and then we should be locked up when we get there.
Yeah, but that was not the question. The question was, can you repeat the question, James?
Yeah, whether or not AP and David should be persecuted or put to death, given that they might not be considered peaceful under Sharia law.
The answer is no. They shouldn't be. They shouldn't be.
Wasn't the question whether if that is done to us, would that be okay under Sharia law?
Yeah.
No, it shouldn't be okay. Absolutely.
It wouldn't be okay.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay?
This one,
yeah.
We must move on. Douche Canoe says, question for Muslim guests, explain the Rashidun Caliphate and the conquest of North Africa, Middle East, and Arab Peninsula. Entire tribes were deemed apostate and slaughtered.
But James, those tribes were going to kill a bunch of people if Muslims didn't slaughter them.
All right.
Well, let me answer that, if I could. I think so. Basically,
maybe I can ask.
Oh, go ahead if you want.
Okay. First of all, as I said, we have different opinion. Okay, according me and those who believe the same as I believe. I know that from sources that Ali radiallahu also was against, going around and occupying other, nations, because it goes against Quran, and Quran says that fight those who fight you, okay, as long as they fight you, okay. So Muslims after Prophet Muhammad, we know the caliphs, and they also had different opinions, and they even had fight against each other. So everything they did wasn't according Islam, and some of things they did was according Islam. So it doesn't mean that everything they did was according Quran and Quranic teaching. So this is my opinion. And if they did, killed innocent people, and if they even attacked and occupied other countries and so on. So according our beliefs, and I said once again, I know that Ali radiallahu was against it, okay, against going and occupying other countries. All right.
You got it.
Yeah, can I say one thing real quick about that? So the false premise here of this, and this is the misunderstanding David had, the misunderstanding Apostate Prophet here, is that if you engage in offensive warfare, therefore you can never be deemed as peaceful. Wrong. Every peaceful nation has engaged in offensive warfare. one of the reasons why is so that they could give the opportunity to the North Africans to hear a message which would otherwise be denied to them. But that should not be your sole reason. There should be other legitimate reasons for conquering that land. For example, improve the quality of life, remove the misery of Judeo-Christianity, and bring about happiness. And that's exactly what they did. Look, the efforts which the early Muslims did, I'll disagree with Muji, but the effort, they made the right political decisions to expand, and there's many good reasons, as I stated. Why? Because they ushered in an era of science and technology, which the scholars call the golden age of Islam, and they improved the quality of life of those people, as well as giving them the opportunity to hear the message of Islam, which would otherwise be denied to them.
Nadir is engaging in such doublespeak, it's incredible. He's saying on one hand that Islam is absolutely flexible and good for society and peaceful and this and that. On the other hand, he's justifying the Rashidun Caliphate and the Islamic empires and caliphates, which went out there and fought and killed and massacred those Muslims who said we don't want to be part of this empire anymore, simply because they deviated from the central authority of Islam, and who also went out and conquered nations in order to convert them to Islam, and who also executed apostates left and right as it was commanded. So here is the no, it was the Rashidun Caliphate. So here is the issue. Here's the issue. He on one hand says it's totally peaceful, totally flexible, totally nice, nothing to fear. On the other hand, when it comes to the actual history of Islam, which was brutally bloody, he's like, well, it was for a good reason. This is doublespeak.
well, let's see what's going on over here.
Really quick, pithy response, then we got to go to the next one.
Yeah, so what's happening here is a retreat. They're running away from the Quran, the Hadith, and the Sirah because they're not able to make the case from our scriptures. So they say, okay, well, let's talk about what the caliphs did, who came after Muhammad. And so this is very interesting to see where they think they can score some point. This is a Hail Mary attempt into the end zone to try to salvage this debate for them, because they're seeing that you can't make the case from the Islamic scriptures. The decisions which the caliph made, a lot of that was political. Some of that was based on religious, but in the end, they made the right decision because they improved the quality of life for the whole world.
One second, James, because that was an accusation against us. Just be very quick here. So we quote the Quran and the Hadith, and then our Muslim friends here say, you're interpreting it wrong. So we quote Muslim scholars and so on, and the tafsir and the sirah and so on, to show that, hey, we're not inventing this. Muslims interpreted it that way. Then it's because we can't show that we're right from the plain statements of the scriptures, which we quoted. And so we showed that Muslim scholars down through the ages have agreed with us. And we're bad for that. We're bad for quoting what Islam's greatest scholars have said, and even rightly guided caliphs have said. And yet Nadir is quoting Chuck Schumer and General David Petraeus. And those are authorities on Islam, according to Nadir. So we quote Abu Bakr. We quote Abu Bakr, and he quotes Chuck Schumer and
Abu Bakr is an Islamophobe, man.
Now, I quoted them
he's
about
a bigot.
ISIS. I quoted them about ISIS, but you got to understand the military and experts have already looked into this subject, and they do not come to the same conclusion that you guys do. Now, General Petraeus, other than being a general, he's also a scholar, and he has looked into this subject, and I think he's a better resource than you.
Then Abu Bakr. We agree. He's
Muhammad is
greater
also
than Abu Bakr.
Muhammad is an Islamophobe.
So now you see that I'm just quoting your caliphs. No, what you're doing, you misquoted
the
our
Quran
religion.
is Islamophobic.
You misquoted all these people.
Yeah.
The nay
Allahu Petraeus Akbar.
This one coming in from Bad Nate Hitu says, "Hi David, good to see you. Surah 929, 973, and 9123 are the most peaceful verses." And then a laughing emoji. So I think they're trolling. This one coming in from...
Yeah, well, just to be clear, that's definitely trolling. 929 says, fight those who do not believe. 973 is where Muhammad is commanded to say that he's been commanded to fight not only unbelievers, but also against hypocrites. And 123 says, fight those of the unbelievers who are near to you. And so, yes, all these commands that really sound like you're just talking about unbelievers. But our Muslim friends can add words to them, and what Allah really means in His perfectly clear verses, His perfectly clear commands. What He really means is only fight people who are attacking you. He just said it in a really, really weird way.
491. The 491 spot
He meant 491. Then he said all this other stuff. Then he said all this other stuff.
If they're not peaceful with you, so every verse he quotes can be silenced by 491 spot.
491. There's no abrogation, and just ignore the historical context of 491.
Abrogation.
What?
We could have talked about that, David.
Why did Allah? Quick question.
Why?
Why did Allah reveal Surah 9 verse 73, Surah 9 verse 29, Surah 9 verse 123, if all He meant was Surah 4 verse 91? And it really sounds like he's saying something completely different. I mean, this would be like, imagine a political leader. Imagine General David Petraeus saying, hey, we're going to go fight ISIS or something like that. Or would have been earlier. But let's say he's saying, hey, we got to go fight the Taliban. And then later on, he says, we're going to fight anyone who believes in Allah. I don't think he'd be saying, oh, well, look, clearly he meant, just the Taliban, because years later he said, we're going to fight anyone who believes in Allah. No one would accept that. There is not a Muslim on this planet who would accept that methodology and say, oh, it's okay for him to say we're going to fight anyone who believes in Allah. Because years earlier, he said we're going to fight the Taliban. No Muslim in the history of humanity would accept that. And yet, when we get to Allah in the Quran, He says, fight those who do not believe in Allah. When we get to Muhammad, I've been commanded to fight people until they say there's no God but Allah and that Muhammad is His messenger. Then suddenly, well, as long as he said something earlier that's abrogated, we can apply that later, and it's all fine. It's all fine.
Answer that.
There's no
getting around
double speak.
I give you
that
like
it excludes
25
peaceful
seconds,
people.
and then we got to go.
There's no getting around the fact that the Quran and the Hadith and the Sirah excludes peaceful people. We saw that with the caravan raid, which you misquoted. We saw that from the very statements in Sirah Ibn Ishaq, where Muhammad said, I wage war against those who wage war against me, but those who want peace, I'm peaceful with them. So many quotations, it's a motif that's going all throughout our scriptures. So you could quote all these verses you want all night. It excludes peaceful people and it excludes innocent people.
You exclude it.
We got to go through it. Let's see this one. Anton Gomez says, question for the Muslims: do you think secular societies are more violent than Islamic ones?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Look what, if you look at the history, I mean, look what's going, if you look at the Holocaust, you look at all these wars, there's no way you can compare that.
Look at North Korea.
World, And the secular societies have done engaged in far more wars than what we have. I mean, look at communism. Look at the horrible slaughter which the communists brought to the world.
This one coming in from Kurt Hanneman says, if the Quran is the perfect word of Allah, why does it require your interpretation? I think they're referring to such as the last one that you and David were just talking about.
Yeah, it's David who's spinning ridiculous interpretations of the Quran because the Quran explicitly excludes peaceful people. But not only that, but the Hadith
but
also,
let's address this question, this new question.
Yeah.
What was the question, please?
They say, if the Quran is the perfect word of Allah, why does it require your interpretation? I think
we're not interpreting. We are giving you.
Yes, you are.
Goodness.
Yes, you are. I give you Quran chapter 9, verse 29, and you reinterpret that. If you read it, okay, that's what I mean. Look, that's what is meant here. If you read Quran chapter 9, verse 29, it clearly tells you explicitly nothing else except fight those who do not believe in Islam. And you come in here and says, no, don't read that verse. We have to interpret that by looking at other things.
Can I answer this, please? Okay, please. Quran chapter 3, verse 7 clearly says that.
You're doing it. You're doing it right now.
Okay. Yes. Yes, I say that. Okay. Let me answer you. Okay. Please don't laugh. Okay. I'm talking. All right. So Quran chapter 3, verse 7 says that there are unspecific verses of Quran that needs interpretation, and the true interpretation of those verses is known only by Allah and those firm in knowledge. Yes. Definitely, it needs interpretation. And why it is that? So there are many questions why Allah doesn't send. You can ask even David why God doesn't send a prophet today and explain, give us the biggest miracle and explain everything for us. This is the way God has, decided to create humanity, and this is the way He decided to send His message. Okay, so if you are disagree with that, you don't like that, then you can talk to God or Allah. You can even ask David why God doesn't send. David, there is a atheist, former Christian, Christian YouTuber. Okay, his name is Pancrake. His only request is that his wet napkins, if God light up his wet napkin, he will believe. Why God doesn't do that? It is the same question, okay? Why God doesn't split the moon today and show everybody the miracle? So he has decided to create us in this way and send his messages, because there was an atheist who told me why God doesn't, renew his messages every time. Okay, so this is how he has decided.
I just wanted a quick follow up to what he was saying, because Muji keeps quoting Surah 3 verse 7, which sounds like there are clear verses and unclear verses, and
yes.
Bad people mess around with the unclear verses. But we also look at the Quran, Surah 11 verse 1. This is a book whose verses have been made firm and free from imperfection, and then they have been expounded in detail. 12:1, these are verses of the clear book. 15:1, these are the verses of the book and a Quran that makes things clear. 24:46, certainly we have revealed clear communications. 26:2, these are the verses of the book that makes things clear. 27:1, these are verses of the Quran, a book that makes things clear. 28:2, these are verses of the book that makes things clear. 57:9, he it is who sends down clear communications upon his servant, that he may bring you forth from utter light from utter darkness into light. So the problem here is you got all these verses. This book is so clear. It's perfectly clear. It's perfectly clear. But then you got 3:7 and it says it's unclear. And so even the issue of the clarity of the Quran is not clear. You need interpreters. You need interpreters to even understand what the Quran is saying. And the way they've interpreted it is that Allah is clear in his commands, but there are theological claims that might be confusing because human beings can't get their minds around them. If he means something else, and commands like fight those who do not believe in Allah are just not clear. Well, if fight those who do not believe in Allah doesn't mean fight those who do not believe in Allah, you can reinterpret anything. You can reinterpret a command to do anything. So just believe in one God. Well, maybe he means believe in 10 gods. You can just make it whatever you want.
Yeah, you can do that.
Let me say something here.
What it means is the Quran is clear.
I want to do this.
I just want to say one thing,
maybe
please.
20 seconds from Perfect Dawah, because we haven't heard a lot from him, and then we've got to go to the next question, because there's just so many questions we got to go through still.
Okay.
Yeah, I just say that you can do whatever you want. That's up to you, and it's between you and God. All right, you can do whatever you want. This is the book, and it's explained, and that's why we have tafsir. That's because it needs to be interpreted. It cannot be. Quran says itself clearly that it needs to be interpreted. Some verses of Quran. Okay. Yes.
This one coming in from, do appreciate your question. The Red Fox says, can disbelief or criticizing in Islam be seen as attacking Islam, thus resulting in retaliation?
No, I don't think that. During the life of Muhammad, there were many people who criticized him. There was Abu Azza, there was Suhail bin Amr, and the list goes on. There were many people who did criticize Muhammad, and Muhammad didn't do anything with them. I think, going back, as far as fighting the non-believers, the hadith I quoted was very clear and explicit, no interpretation needed. There's two kinds of idolaters, two types of non-believers. There are the ones who fought against Muhammad, and then there are the ones who Muhammad was at peace against them. Muhammad fought against those who fought him, but he was peaceful with those who were at peace with him. Game over, tap out. Yeah. This destroys all of David Wood and
it destroys Allah, because if you're saying only what he means in these early revelations, and then his final revelations, his final marching orders, he says something that sounds completely different. Fight those who do not believe.
David.
No.
You're rambling.
Fight those who do not believe is my interpretation. I'm literally quoting the verse. You're
just misinterpreting it when you read it as it is.
What he really means is fight people who are attacking you.
He's putting some
you're
spin.
Quoting.
Early, later. Who's doing the interpretation spin? You are.
David, you can't understand it exactly as it says.
In a book that declares abrogation as the fundamental teaching. If Allah says this, Allah says, hey, fight people who are attacking you. Later he says, fight those who do not believe. How do you reconcile this? He gives you the method. He says abrogation. Later verses abrogate or cancel earlier revelations. We can address that. We've already addressed it. Oh, you mean the hadith? You mean the hadith? I've been commanded to fight people until they say there's no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger, or the one about killing the Jews even if they're hiding behind trees? Which one? Which one do we?
David, it said there's two kinds.
That's from the defensive stage. It's read the title. Read the title of that hadith.
Okay, chapter marrying al-mushrikat who had embraced Islam, then their idda. That what does that have to do with anything?
give the historical reference.
Okay, David. Okay.
Zagros Ozcan says, Muji and Nadir, you approve Hamas bombing in Israel? Yes or no?
No, absolutely not. This is terrorism and killing of innocent civilians. This is an imitation of the people of the book. As we have seen, I mean, we haven't really talked about it, but the killing of innocent women and children, this is something which the Christians have practiced all throughout the ages. It is something which is actually taught inside the Bible. And that was what was hilarious.
Is that really your response every single time when Islam is questioned? What about the Bible? What about communists?
Hamas.
No.
Hamas was questioned. They're imitators of the people of the book. There's the answer.
Okay, no, it is not, Quran is clear that we have no right to kill innocent people.
Right.
This one from
Whoa! I did want to point out that that's incorrect, because Muslims would launch night raids during the time of Muhammad, and then it came to them. And then they came to him and they said, "Hey, we kids are getting killed during the night raids because we can't see who we're hacking up." And he said, "Hey, they're from them," meaning they're from the unbelievers, meaning Allah doesn't care.
Yeah. And Muhammad himself said they are from them.
That's Muhammad. I'm literally quoting your prophet, and you mock your own.
That's word for word Muhammad.
That is exactly what he said. No, I just wanted to point out. So when it comes to, I'm breaking it down.
Quran. That's not Quran.
That's true. That is hadith. Quran. But the same reasoning was applied later when they're talking. They have to figure out, hey, if we're using catapults against cities and so on, we're going to hit all kinds of people and so on. And that's fine. But so if you're bombing someone and kids end up getting killed, then I mean you can't say that's. You can't say, you got to rule it out for a different reason other than that.
May I answer? Okay, it's a very simple answer. So now we see who's playing the silly interpretation game. The text, what Muhammad said when they say, hey, listen, they ask him that there's some possibility that there might be some women and children over there. So he said, whom min whom? Now that has many different interpretations. Notice it does not explicitly say to kill innocent women, children, like the Bible does. Many people will say, look, that's because there are many people who are among the women and children who are fighting alongside with the pagans. And that happened in the Battle of Hunain. There's many people, because a child with a poisoned dart or a sword can be just as dangerous. There's many people. Another scholars have also pointed out, well, this could be that because it was so long it was not your intention that these people, so there are these dead bodies there, that was not your intention. Okay, that's fine. So the point here is, look how he took this one statement, which is vastly open for interpretation, and David Wood put his own nasty spin on it. But did you know in that same book, right, just a couple of hadith above it, Muhammad explicitly stated, do not kill women and children. So now use this as your guide to interpret this hadith. But like I said, the 491 spot check makes it very clear from the Quran that you are supposed to do the spot check if their hands are withdrawn from you, if they're not offering you peace, and they're restrained from fighting you, you do not kill them. So the Quran and hadith are inconsistent. You do not kill innocent people.
This one coming in from Douche Canoe says, question for the Muslims. If Islam is the religion of peace, please explain why the second fitna happened.
I don't know which one is that. Second fitna.
Gotcha.
You're talking about the Ridda wars, is what I'm guessing.
That's all they put is second fitna.
I think they're talking about the apostasy wars. So this is my point. Look, I think the audience is convinced, and I love it. They're not able to make the case from the Quran, the Hadith, and the Sirah, because it all talks about not fighting peaceful people. So that's great, wonderful. Allah Akbar. They're going now into the history, into the actions of the caliphs, and I love it because now they get the picture. So yeah, there were wars which took place. Again, they made political decisions, and one of the reasons why was to keep this unity in the Islamic empire. These these were their political decisions, and we'll just leave it at that. But I'm very happy to see that you're not really buying into David Wood's and Apostate Prophet's arguments.
The second fitna is a conflict between the Islamic Caliphate, between the Umayyad Caliphate and and those who contest their rule, which is more than just politics. It is actually who is in charge of the Islamic Ummah, as the Quran and the Prophet left it to us. And they disagree with each other and they kill each other brutally, just as they did from the very first day, as David quoted, and I also mentioned in my opening speech, Abu Bakr, the first caliph after Muhammad, whom Muhammad praised to no end. He himself began with that and declared war upon all those who were not good enough Muslims and slaughtered them, citing Muhammad as his authority there. This is what Muslims themselves did. So, and you are contradicting the primary authorities, the Quran, Muhammad, Abu Bakr, and everybody.
By the way, AP, so you pointed out Abu Bakr fighting the apostate wars, and then Aisha marches an army against Ali, thousands of Muslims dying on both sides, and then you have the second fitna, they're killing each other again, when Muhammad is the one who said the first generation of the Muslims is the best, and the next generation is the best after that. So the two generations that, according to Muhammad, are the best generations are the ones who almost annihilated themselves with violence. But according to Muji and Nadir, these guys weren't even Muslims.
Yeah, I will take 10 seconds to answer you. It's very easy. Let me just answer really quickly. They're the best generation, but not perfect. It's clear they did make mistakes. And so there's something we just can't defend about what happened after the Islamic Muhammad died and their conflicts, which did come out. That's indefensible. They made mistakes. I
have a very simple question.
The rightly guided caliphs were the ones who messed up. That's great.
I have a very simple question. Who do you think represented Islam more accurately? The first and second generation of Muslims or you?
Oh, well, of course, the first and second generation.
Thank you. Yeah. There we have it.
Yeah, but I do love this argument. I'll tell you why. I love the argument because the audience is not making their case from the Islamic scriptures, because you can't. But they're going to, after what the conflicts which took place after Muhammad died. I love where this discussion is going. That shows they're not buying into the baloney of Apostate Prophet and David Wood. Why don't you borrow some of their baloney arguments you heard tonight?
Masuguam says, Nadir and Perfect Dawah, why are you uninterested in discussing the hadiths? It is considered a core part of theology to the vast majority of Muslims in the world. The topic is about Islam, not only about the Quran.
Yeah, we quoted the hadith, and the hadith which destroyed these guys was that there's two types of disbelievers. They're the ones who fought against Muhammad, and Muhammad fought against them. And they're the ones who were at peace with them, and neither did Muhammad fight against them, and he lived in peace with them. So we quoted many hadith on that, and then David Woods put some spin on all this.
All right, okay, yeah, let me also say is that according many Muslims, okay, and I'm one of them, any hadith goes against Quran is fabricated, okay? And there are millions of fabricated hadiths out there. Even Bukhari himself, he threw out 600,000 fabricated hadiths, and he chose 7,000. I'm one of them who do not agree that even his book all are authentic, okay? So maybe, of course, there are Muslims who disagree with me, and there are many Muslims who agree with me that all his hadiths are not authentic, okay? So any hadith that goes against Quran is fabricated. So if you want to prove anything, first prove from Quran, okay? And then you can bring hadiths that is matching with those verses of Quran, okay? Then, yes, we can agree with you.
Do you think Bukhari was a charlatan?
Yeah, according to me, he was.
He was a charlatan. Okay,
yes,
good.
according.
Thank you. I agree. I agree.
Respect.
I agree.
This one from Sugar Goat says, David, why don't you talk about the violence of Christianity, which says stone apostates? Why do you associate with apostate prophet who denies God?
He runs away from that debate. You know the Bible can't be defended.
I debated that topic with Shabir Ali.
We
had a public debate. Well, Shabir Ali will actually stick to the topic. So anyway, can I answer the question that was directed towards me?
Yeah, answer my
All right, let's hear from David Wood.
All right. So there's no command to Christians to kill anyone, including apostates. You can find in the Jewish, in the Mosaic, under the Mosaic covenant, where people entered into it, it was verified with miracles, and there were harsh penalties for violating the covenant. That was the covenant that they had agreed to. But that's got nothing to do with AP, right? So just to because I find a lot of Muslims and a lot of atheists don't understand this. I apply the same methodology to the Bible that I apply to the Quran, right? The Quran is a series of revelations, and according to the Quran itself, the final revelations, they can trump earlier revelations, and you have the final marching orders. Nadir laughs at this stuff. That's what his God says. He once again laughs at his God and his prophet. But the Bible, you have a series of covenants. There's a covenant with Adam. There's a covenant with Noah. There's a covenant with the children of Israel. I'm not under that covenant. Never have been, never will be. Yeah. Then there is a covenant through Jesus Christ. That's the covenant I'm under. What commands do I obey? The commands of the covenant that I'm part of. I'm commanded, love your neighbor as yourself, love God with all your heart, mind, soul, strength, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. Insofar as it depends on you, live in peace with all people and honor all people. These are commands directed towards me. There is nothing anywhere commanded towards me to go kill someone else.
Well, David, I didn't hear you answer my challenge.
Who is this directed towards? Who is this directed towards?
Okay.
Who is this directed towards?
You guys are. We've got to. Let's move to the next one. This one's coming from.
And James, I just wanted to point out. If the question is, David, why don't you talk about this? Again, I've debated this before because that was the question. David, why aren't you talking about this? If you're saying, why have I never talked? If you're saying, why have I never talked about this? I've debated this before. Matter of fact, I've done peace and violence in Christianity and Islam a bunch of times, and specifically debated Shabir Ali on whether the Bible is a book of peace. One second, Nadir. Let me just finish my response.
Then give me 10 seconds.
If you're asking why I'm not talking about it now, because it's not the topic of the debate. The topic is Islam violent? You could say, imagine we opened up the Bible and we found Jesus saying, kill everyone in the entire world over and over again. Then what would that have to do with whether Islam is violence? I'm not sure. So basically,
I just need 10 seconds.
Debates have topics.
Yeah. It's a question that frankly wasn't even on topic. So I do have to move to the next one. This one is Ask Truth Apologetics. They say this debate is not about if people do evil things. It's about the evils done by those people are supported by or condemned by their scriptures. I'm not sure whose side that's on. This one from Kurt Hanneman says, is the Quran perfect and easy to understand? I think we kind of covered that.
Yeah, 491 was easy to understand. And I thought where it said, "Hey, if they're peaceful."
Your commentators don't agree with you on that one, Nadir.
Please let me talk. Don't interrupt me.
Okay. You interrupted me you just interrupted me like 50 times.
True. Yeah.
Let me. You keep saying.
But don't interrupt me.
This is okay. Maybe okay. Let me talk about that.
We're fine. Go ahead.
Okay. So see, the thing is. What I thought was really funny here is you really can't argue your case from the Quran. That's why they ran to commentators, okay? But the commentary on 491, nobody disagrees with the way how I explicitly read it out, But the thing is this, I just want to take 10 seconds to say this. Sheikh Uthman lit David Wood up on showing in the Bible that it teaches to beat a slave to death, and that's why he's running away, because I'm going to come after you with that verse. So he will never debate the Bible with me on that because of the terrible loss he suffered as Sheikh.
Not what it says.
So there's a challenge.
Not what it says.
Okay, do you want to debate this, David?
With you, no. There's you have never once in your entire life stuck to any debate topic you've agreed to, Nadir.
We're going to talk about beating a slave to death.
And
David.
all you do anytime we debate, you say, but let's debate this other topic. And then
run away from the violence of the Bible.
Running away. Everyone's running from Nadir. The greatest
David is so scared.
So scared of Nadir. That's why I'm here right now.
Christ is King says, question for both parties. Do you think Islam was primarily spread either through conquest or Dawah?
Primarily war, partially through cultural exchanges and trading and birth rates, yeah. But mostly
war and birth rates.
Well, so basically, look at the country of Indonesia. Indonesia was the largest Muslim population in the world today, and no Muslim army went there, and yet they were converted peacefully. But you got to understand, democracy was also spread through war. Democracy was spread to Korea, to Vietnam, unsuccessfully, but that was spread through war. So to spread an ideology by war, so long as it's good, it does not mean that country or that book is not peaceful. Everybody spread their ideology through war, so I think and Islam is no different from that.
This one coming in from Do Appreciate Your Question. Danny T says peaceful Muslims should be applauded for their reformed Islam. However, some are inspired by Islam to do violence. Why ignore this fact? Help reform. They also said...
Yeah, I mean, we're fighting Christian terrorism. Even Christians are using the Bible to wage war in Ukraine, as I showed you from the Russian Orthodox Church, and there's many examples actually of where Christians are using the Bible to attack peaceful people. But the issue here, when it comes to the Muslims who basically doing this terrorism, what started this, as we go back to people who are experts on the topic, like General Petraeus and other than the military, there's the political instability of the Middle East. The Middle East was attacked. Israel took the Golan Heights, the Gaza Strip, and other lands, and you had Russia invade Afghanistan. You had the horrible massacres take place in Bosnia and Herzegovina. These were the catalysts which caused this terrible terrorism which we see today.
Can I say something?
Will agree it's not the Hadith and the Quran.
Yeah. Can I say something?
Yep.
The most of this violence and terrorism came after 1979 Iranian Revolution, and who brought this Ayatollah fascist Khomeini to power was the West, USA and UK. Ayatollah, we call it, Iranian call it Ayatollah BBC. Mm-hmm. Ayatollah BBC was, propaganda machine for Ayatollah Khomeini, because they were afraid of Soviet Union that the leftists take the power in Iran. So they helped Ayatollah Khomeini to take the power. And they have been supporting them until today, 43 years. Just a few days ago, Biden released billions of dollars to this fascist regime because they released two American hostages. The time that we want sanction on these mass murderers. So don't please blame Islam on what you do in the Middle East. Yes.
Where was the terrorism in the year 1940? It didn't exist. This is all a modern day phenomenon.
There is no terrorist.
Islam was at war with the entire world for 1,400 years, and we're talking about terrorism. Islam conquered. Islam conquered. While we're talking about
terrorism.
We are not exclusively talking about terrorism. We're talking about violence in Islam. That's what we're talking about. Islam spread mostly through conquest. You bring up Indonesia, which
people and
oh my God, will you please let me talk? Okay. Will you please let me talk? Islam spread mostly, vastly by conquest. I am not saying everything that spreads by conquest or by war is bad. I'm saying it is a fact that Islam spread by conquest, and that Islam is by definition in nature violent. This is an established fact. This has nothing to do with terrorism. It has nothing to do with the methods of violence. Islam is violent. If you are today here trying to portray Islam as a peaceful thing, because other things are also violent, that is simply absurd and fallacious. If you are here saying all the violence in the past was false, Islam is actually all about roses and hearts and all of that, then I would say you don't really understand what Islam is.
No, that's
I was talking about terrorism in particular.
Okay,
you're talking about terrorism. You're talking about conquest.
Let's hear from Perfect Dawah.
Okay. Yes,
really short
I said yes. I said, and whatever happened after Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is not 100% that it was Islamic. They were different fractions, so that's we put that beside. But if it's the current situation, especially in the Middle East, if 1979 the West didn't help this extremist Khomeini to take the power in Iran, and they didn't help it in 43 years, even until today, we wouldn't have all these troubles, all these wars in the Middle East, okay? We would have peace and stability in the Middle East. So don't blame it on Islam, please.
This one coming in from Assad Kamal, and Deej asked the same question. Is there a religion that is more peaceful than Islam? Assad Kamal says such as Jainism.
I don't know what is
Well,
Jainism.
The problem, one of the problems, as chapter 4, verse 75, I think refutes this idea that you have to be in a complete pacifist state. No, that doesn't work. Si vis pacem parabellum.
Can you answer the question?
Yeah. Okay, so how do we define peaceful? I mean, this is where I think the problem is. If you are sitting at complete, total pacifist, is this really the right definition of peacefulness? No, because as we saw from the Roman writer, hey, listen, you sit in that type of position, you will be conquered. That is a fact of nature. So when we talk about peaceful, it's about a proper mix of war and peace. That mix, that perfect balance is what we find in the Quran. And so I think the type of religion of Jainism, that if societies followed that, they would be conquered by people like Vladimir Putin. In fact, one of the Ukrainians actually quoted that si vis pacem parabellum. You see, the reason why you got attacked was because you stayed in a complete defensive state.
I don't think you are sure of the religious demographics in the world that we are living today and over the last millennia or centuries, because many of these societies existed for thousands of years and still do exist. And
Okay, can I?
and you still didn't answer the question. The actual
Can I
question.
Perfect.
answer?
I'll give you a chance, then we gotta go to the next one.
Please. I said in my opening that Islam is not a passive religion. Islam has a solution to every situation, and when you are attacked, Islam gives you the right to defend yourself, but as the last option, not the first option. Okay, so you have the right to defend yourself, but as long as you can be peaceful, yes, you have to be peaceful. And we see in the 10-year ceasefire that Prophet Muhammad signed with the pagans at that time, he said that do not fight them, even if they provoke you. So he didn't want to fight against the kuffar, okay? Yes.
You also didn't answer the question. I mean, the question was very simple. Why is nobody answering the question?
Because it's a wrong definition of peace in Jainism.
That
definition of peace doesn't work. The definition of peace in Islam is a right definition, and it has brought so much good to the world.
So, okay, no answering the question. Well, thank you.
Yeah, but to be answered, you don't understand the question.
You are not answering the question.
No, we said that it is not a passive. Yeah, I mean, that's crazy to allow people to attack you and kill you. That's not peace. That's stupidity.
Okay, so you are saying there is no religion that is more peaceful than Islam, then?
I would say Islam is the most peaceful religion because it's got the right balance of war and peace.
Got it. Fantastic.
Yes. This one coming in from, do appreciate your question. Greatest Ever says, what is the difference in views of al-Mahdi, hidden imam, in parentheses, between the Sunni and Shiite?
Sorry, once again, I didn't understand the question.
They said, what's the difference in views of al-Mahdi, in parentheses, hidden imam, between the Sunni and Shiite?
All right, I don't know much, but I think it's almost the same, that both Shia and Sunni believe that one day the Mahdi will come and save the humanity. All believe, I think, the same. Am I right, brother?
I think, there's some differences, but I think that's kind of off topic.
Not major.
We'll talk about that another time. Yeah.
Not major.
You got it? Yes. This one coming in from, do appreciate your question. Masagwam says, Surah 282, verse 282, says that 2 women are needed to replace 1 man in an attestation. Then 228 says that men are in a higher degree than women. Does the Quran promote gender inequality? Isn't this a cause for emotional violence?
No, I just would like to answer this, that Quran doesn't say in that verse that 2 women should, give the testimony. Quran says that that's only in the case of business, is just the second woman is going to support the first woman. Okay, it's not going to give the testify. All right, and then in Quran is clear that even a woman that is accused of, accused of adultery, okay, her husband has the right to, when he doesn't have the witnesses, he has the right to swear 5 times, okay, and then the woman also has the right to swear 5 times to prove herself innocent. If it was half, then she should swear 10 times. But we see that they have equal, time of swearing, exactly equal, so that she is, released from her the accusation. All right.
Well, if I could just say one thing real quick.
David, what do you think?
Let me just make one quick about the testimonies. Let's see what science says about a woman's testimony. It says over here in the article on sharing.
He's going to defend it. He's going to defend
it. Under pressure, women plead guilty to crimes they have not committed. So you can go ahead and mock what the Department of Justice and other people say about a woman's testimony. So the question I'm raising is, hey man, if this is how bad it is today, where women are being coerced by other men to give a false testimony, God, just think how bad it was, just 1,000 years ago. So, but I think I do like the questioner where he's headed. He's going into other directions to try to find how Islam could invoke violence. And
so you do
buying
agree
into the David Wood and Apostate prophet stuff they heard tonight. They're like, there's got to be some other way, and I like that.
So you do agree.
The questions the audience are telling me.
Well, that was actually one of the points that I brought up in my opening. But so you do agree that Islam promotes inequality between the genders?
Not
right?
me. You
don't, but Nadir does.
I would say there is a problem with the testimony of a woman after what we read from the
thank you.
Justice.
Well, good answer. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just let science answer that.
This one coming in from, do appreciate your question. Ben, I think it's first time question asker, says let's see. Well, I don't even understand what that means. I'll come back to that one. XXWLZXX says, perfect Dawah and Nadir have been featured on this channel a lot. Aren't there any other Islamic debaters out there? That's a good question. Very practical. We are looking for more Muslim debaters. If you're a Muslim debater and you want to reach out to us, and it's not that we don't want to have perfect Dawah and Nadir on anymore. We do. We appreciate them. But if you are a Muslim debater and you want to come on for the first time, email me at moderndaydebate@gmail.com. Really easy to remember. And
can I quickly? I would say I think, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, I would say Muslim debaters are not very prone to debate Islam because they're very scared of debating their own religion in public, because many of them have doubts, and I think Muslim debaters are in general just scared to debate. Otherwise, please come here, let's do it.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the people who are scared to debate are those debaters who are afraid to debate the verse in the Bible which teaches to beat a slave to death, like David Wood. Sheikh Uthman lit
I hate
him
to say it, but it's
up
not
on
related. This one, Texas First, says, hey, David, can you recommend someone I can listen to about debunking modern Judaism and the Talmud? This is surprisingly harder to find than on Islam.
Well, you got 1.6 billion Muslims in the world, and you have, very public Muslims like Ali Dawah talking about enforcing Sharia and killing apostates and things like that. You have Sheikh Asim al-Hakim talking about preparing to wage jihad, telling Muslims that, let's prepare for a couple of decades so we could go door to door, giving them the option of convert, pay jizya, or be executed. And so we look at that, and that's obviously going to get a lot of focus. As far as apologetics dealing with Judaism, I'd say Michael Brown. And there are ministries and so on, but it's not something I've been involved in. So I'd say start with Michael Brown. Check that out.
You got it. Thank you very much for your question. Nadir, no. Bitter Truth says, Dr. Wood, similar problem in the Bible. Let's see. I do want to stick with questions on the topic just because folks, if we do want to have a debate on whether or not the Bible is violent, I'm open to hosting that. We've done it before, and we could do it again.
David's not.
This one coming in from...
I've done like 6 of them.
Nadir,
but when you got the slave
I don't know what else to do.
Got lit up.
This one from Sunflower says, Nadir and Perfect Dawah, please keep in mind, and then we want to move through these fast. So, folks, for sure, no more questions. I'm going to move through these last ones fast so we can get our guys out of here. Sunflower says, Nadir and Perfect Dawah, please keep in mind, the actual question was, quote, does Islam permit protests of this nature? In Islam, are schoolgirls and women permitted to protest? in particular, their government, by removing their hijab?
Look, inside Islamic law, and if you look at during the life of Muhammad when he lived, there were no morality police. There were no forced people who were forcing them to wear hijab. This is all a later modern day invention. I support the protesters. I support, because people should not be forced to wear a hijab, and just like the French should not force people to take off their hijab. So you have this problem on both sides. In France today, they're forcing women not to wear, Muslim women not to wear particular clothing. Both are wrong, and I think we should also see that that problem exists in France as well.
All right, I would like to say, quote something from Ali Radiullah that I saw a few days ago, that he says to his governor, Malik, that if people want to come to protest against something, okay, release your army so that they are not afraid of talking to you and protesting you, okay? So, and then Ali Radiallah says, sorry, I don't have it right now, but that one is one of them, that he says, release your army so that they are not afraid and to protest. Okay, and that's what is going on in Iran. And I have explained for you that it is absolutely, the regime is oppressive. The regime is a mafia regime that doesn't follow Islam at all. Okay, in Islam, we do not, and the biggest enemy of this current regime is a great democratic organization, Muslim organization that unfortunately, Apostate Prophet, he, without any knowledge, he accused them and me being supporting, cult, terrorist cult, without minimum knowledge, despite we exist. So how he judged Prophet Muhammad, who existed 1400 years ago, you can imagine, yeah? That even today, and I challenge him.
Nothing to do with the topic.
Yes. That's why you can run away.
The Quran, the Quran and the Hadith. The Quran actually commands women to wear the hijab. Muhammad also commanded it, and thereby forced women to wear the hijab. And so did the Muslims after them, which we will find in all the sources.
During the life of Muhammad.
I gotta move fast.
Muhammad was the morality police.
Yes.
Bitter Truth says, Nadir, why there's mob lynching and why is there death sentences if someone asks a question on Muhammad and Aisha being married? Is this in Islam to kill?
No, it is not. Why they do that? It's absolutely condemned by majority of Muslims. Yeah, it's condemned.
No, it's not. That is a lie. Okay. Most Muslims do not condemn that. That is a complete lie.
Okay,
back that up. I dare you to back that up.
Yeah, they don't get the voice. Okay. Yes, they don't get the voice. Yes, sure. Like me.
This one from Maswag says, Nadir, why is it, and in fact, the rest of our questions, I would say, let's see, I think these are pretty much just for Nadir and Perfect Dawah. So if you guys really had to go, David and Apostate Prophet, or one of you had to go, like, no pressure, because it has been 3 hours, so I don't blame you if you have to go because it's late. I will make sure that Nadir does not tack on to every single answer to a question.
You can't stop Nadir for doing that.
That's true. It's really hard.
No one can stop Nadir from doing that.
I'll read through really fast. This one coming in from, do appreciate it.
Oh, James, if none of these are actually for me, then I do need to. We're a little past my wife's bedtime, and I'm actually at the end of my room, so.
You got it. I'll let you go, David.
David has to go. He has to obey. He has to go.
Thank you for coming, David.
Yeah, imagine. I should just go beat her and tell her to.
That was a joke, folks. This channel is not here tomorrow. You know why. Thank you, David, for being with us.
Yeah.
I will see you, David. I will stay here for a while. I've been playing a game anyway because I'm bored, but I'll just stay here.
I know it's a lot, but so yeah, David, thank you.
Oh, 1 second. I have to go reset up outside of here. But I'll be at a birthday party on Hatun's channel. There's a birthday party. It's Muhammad's birthday, in case anyone doesn't know. So we're having a Crash Muhammad's birthday party. So we celebrate Muhammad's birthday too. So anyway, see everyone over there if she's still
David. Have a good one, and we'll
wait. Was Muji trying to say something to me before I go?
Yeah, I just would like to say I talked once to Khatun, and I regret for the rest of my life because I believe that she doesn't follow Christianity. She believes in a hateful religion, and please teach her a little bit. Love one another, love your neighbor as you love yourself.
You mean Hatun, who
Hatun,
is being told by the British government about all the jihadis who are coming to kill her on a regular basis?
I was.
She left a hateful religion.
Yeah.
It's her fault.
She's a warrior.
Yeah.
She's a
The
warrior.
death threats are all her fault.
Shame on Hatun.
Yes.
I'm gonna go over to Hatun's channel. Catch y'all there.
Take care.
David Wood is running. See.
I'm going to rearrange the photos in OBS, but in the meantime, let me ask another question, and that way we'll give our guests a chance to respond. Maswag says, Nadir, why is it in every debate you always try to discredit the Bible, even if it's not the topic? Do you need to discredit it in order to validate your Quran by contrast?
So if you recall, I waited to make that difference in the question and answer time. So in the question and answer time, I pointed out a point which embarrassed David Wood, that the Bible
Hold on, let's not talk about people that are not here to defend themselves.
I pointed out a difference between the Bible and the Quran. Inside the Bible, you will find orders from God to go out and murder women and children. You will never find that in the Quran. And so there was a pathetic attempt to try to show that with an interpretation spin of the Hadith, but that failed miserably. So, but the point I want to point out, look, we're ready to challenge our scriptures, but there's some people who are running away.
Just stick to the topic for once, man.
I didn't understand what USA PAC. What they mean? Okay, we have explained. I have explained at least.
We don't want to
my
open up
side.
that whole
Yes,
debate.
yes, but there is no such laws in Islam that according my understanding, you cannot judge people who do not attack you, who do not break the law. Okay, and then apostasy and homosexuality. It is punishment. True Quran is punishment by Allah, and next life, not here. In this life, they have the right to repent, and I have seen homosexuals who have converted to Islam and they have changed. So you have no right to punish people, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them the time. Even like myself, I'm a former apostate. If you call me, I'm a former apostate. So I have the right to learn and change. If I die as an apostate, then my judgment is with Allah, whatever. Okay, so nobody can judge me. They are all sinners themselves.
Yeah. Hey, James, I got to go after this question. That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Muhammad actually said that homosexuals should be executed and that apostates should also be executed.
Okay, that's your Muhammad, not my Muhammad. Okay, yes.
Yeah, so that's a debate which is not happening. The problem with the Gospels is that there are verses in there which can be interpreted where Jesus gives marching orders, to go out and kill people in his name. But we gotta bring the Christians willing to debate this topic. But the real problem of the Bible, as we saw in contrast with the Quran, is that there are verses in the Bible. It's in the war ethics, which teaches it's okay to go into children's bedroom and stab them to death. There were orders to do that in the Bible. You will never find that inside the Quran, where it teaches to murder and kill innocent people. And so, this is a debate which Christians run away from because the Bible is indefensible.
This is why this Q&A has gone for so long.
I gotta get going, guys.
Misawag says, Surah 434 mentions fear of disloyalty from your wife. You can admonish her, stop sleeping with her, and striking her, even if it's just a claim. Isn't this emotional abuse considered violence as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you want to answer that? I get going, James.
Yes.
You got it. Thanks for coming by,
yes.
Nadir. Sleep well.
Right. Thanks, bye.
All right. Let me answer that. 434. Okay. Absolutely, I have to say that there is, it is not disobedience, it's nashuz. Nashuz is also mentioned about women, that if they fear also nashuz from their husband, okay, it has given them the right to also solve it. So the nashuz is not disobedience, okay? It has been misinterpreted, and then the Quran, chapter 4, verse 34, it says that after these two steps, if it's continued, this, domestic problem, then leave her, all right? And chapter 4, verse 35, explain it very well, that and in case you fear split between the two, not after he bet her, okay, after he left her, the two, then send forth a judge from his family and a judge from her family. So again, now here, even she has the right to come back or not, in case they both are willing to act righteously. Allah will cause them to reach an agreement between them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tries to bring them back together after they separated because of this problem. So Allah and this strike has been used in Quran in many different meaning. I can read for you. Strike in chapter 43 verse 5 is ignore. Okay, yes.
It actually says those who disobey, you can beat them, and if they
it's not disobey.
If they obey once more, then you can leave them in peace.
No, it's not disobey. It's nashuz. Okay, nashuz. I can find it for you and tell you.
According to you. Yeah.
Yes. Not as according to me. Okay, I will give you a verse of Quran. Okay, yes.
Danny T says, AP, is apostasy a peaceful profession? Ask Rushdie. Do I remember right? Is Rushdie the person who was recently killed?
Yeah, Salman Rushdie. No, he wasn't killed. Salman Rushdie is the guy who wrote a book, Satanic Verses, for which Muslims around the world were outraged, and Iran issued a fatwa to kill him. So recently, somebody tried to do that, but stabbed him, and he survived it. So being an apostate is a very threatening situation, but here people like Muji and others try to accuse us of being the ones who spread hate while we are being targeted violently by adherents of Islam.
No, I have said that you are one of them who says that this is Islam, okay? And you, first of all, you categorize Islam. For example, the case of Salman Rushdie was political because Khomeini, this fatwa came 1 year after, and it came exactly after he was forced to make peace with Iraq because he had a lot of problems inside the country. So he always wanted to send out the problems with creating another conflict. For example, Iran-Iraq war was a great opportunity for Khomeini to stay in power because he had inside domestic problems. So that fatwa wasn't because he loved Islam or anything. It came 1 year after the book because he kept it for a good time to send this problem after he made peace with Iraq. And then about that beating, I give you now
that's not the question.
No. I want to say, because I found the verse, chapter 4, verse 128. The same word nashuz has been changed here. Okay, if a woman fears indifference or neglect from her husband, it is the same. It's not disobedience. Here it has been changed to indifference or neglect from her husband. Here is no blame on either of them if they seek fair
You don't
settlement.
seem to understand how to read a Quran verse. In the end of the Quran verse, it says, then if they obey you, the word here is not that word. The word here is for obedience. If they obey you, then seek no way against them once more. So it is clearly about obedience here.
No, it's about, not obedience, it's about indifference, okay?
It says qanitat, which is obedience. That is what it is. It is unanimously in the Quran used for obedience. The verse clearly mentions it twice. So
Okay.
This one coming in from, do appreciate your question. Danny T says, kudos to Perfect Dawah for condemning extremists. You had a fan out there, Perfect Dawah. And this one from Ophel Ian says, how do these, Muslims look at abrogated, or folks, a reminder if you haven't seen that word in a while, if I remember right, abrogated means it's kind of like done away with or considered like retired. How do these Muslims look at abrogated ayahs/surahs in light of what they just said?
Okay. Abrogation, there are, of course, abrogated verses in Quran, but these abrogated verses are like, for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first gave the order to Muslims to pray towards, Jerusalem, and then he changed it to pray towards Mecca. All right. These type of verses are abrogator verses that, okay, now no longer you need to do that. But abrogation doesn't mean that, for example, that Quran comes with a verse that do not fight those who do not fight you, and then later says that okay, now you can fight those who do, who are peaceful towards you. No, that's not any types of abrogation. All right.
This one coming in from, do appreciate your question. Mont says, the Islamic conquest of India is the bloodiest story in history. Its moral is that culture and peace can at any moment be overthrown by barbarians.
James, I think I would like to end it here too. You said there is no question for me anyway. It's all for the
That's
Muslims.
true.
So, yeah.
All right. I
would like to thank everybody for watching, for being here. Thanks, Muji, and thanks to all the others, and thank you, James. I would just like to
thank you, Apostate Prophet. It's been a true pleasure.
Same.
Just would like
and,
to say
and stay away from Islam, everybody.
Yes, just want to say before you go, AP, please don't spread hate against me and peaceful Muslim like me. Okay.
Okay.
So don't
tell your fellow Muslims to stop telling millions of people that we should be executed. Don't argue with me. Go and argue with them.
No,
have a good day.
Yes. Thank you, Apostate Prophet. And folks, we're so close. We're at 467, 469 likes now. We can make it to 500 likes. We've got 618 live viewers, 470 now. So do hit that like button. We've got more questions. We're going to keep going Perfect Dawah, we appreciate you staying with us. A reminder, all of our guests, including Perfect Dawah and our guests who had to retire for the night, is for some of our guys coming in from the Eastern time zone, it's 11:17, which for me, I usually go to bed by 11:17. I don't blame them. I know a lot of people go to bed by 9 or 10. So if I were them, I would have gone too. But we're thankful, Perfect Dawah, to have you here.
Do you know what time is here? 5:18 in the morning.
That's super early, and I owe you. Like, I don't know if you got my email, by the way. I told you that for the next debate, I would be willing to do a day debate, even though I hate day debates. But because you were willing to do this, I'm willing to do that. So
2 in the morning until now. All right. Yes.
You're hardcore, no doubt about it.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. So I just would like also to leave, if it's okay, James. And I would like to ask anybody who would like to fight Islamic extremism, please support me. I need this support. Go and subscribe. And I go live every Saturdays. Okay, you can just call in and ask me questions. Let's fight them together. All right. I want a peaceful world. All right. Thank you very much, James.
Thank you. I hope you have a great rest of your night.
yeah.
And I'm
Thank
going to
you.
read any remaining super chats that are not particularly for our guests. So, for example, Triedge Gaming says, please have Cliff Nettle. And, oh, yeah, you can go, though.
Recording stopped.
Thanks for being with us. As Triad Gaming said, please have Cliff Nettle and Mike Winger versus Muhammad Hijab and Ali Dawah. I'm totally open to that. I've got to tell you, Muhammad Hijab is actually pretty tough to set up a debate with. I've asked him, and he's kind of like, hey, I usually am looking for like top notch. Like he was hoping to that we might be able to fly over to England, which I'm totally open to. I love England. I've been there once briefly. And it's more that it just in my schedule I haven't been able to set it up yet. So that's a possibility, and I want to say we're open to it. I would have to fly the speakers over there because Muhammad Hijab, at least for the last debate I mentioned to him, he's like, I wanted to be here in England. And for me to fly 4 people out there, or I should say 3 people, if we include the 2 debaters besides me, that would be a lot. But other ones coming in from, do appreciate your, I'm trying to think of any others. Let's see. Kurt Hanneman says, James, how did you find the only 2 Muslims? Let's see. There are very few Muslims. I agree. We're going to hopefully have more Muslim guests on, as we appreciate who we have had on, namely Nadir, as well as we're very thankful to have had Perfect Dawah and David and Apostate Prophet. They're all linked in the description. By the way, we just hit 508 likes, 510 likes. Amazing. My dear friends, and I also saw there were 2 gifts of memberships. So I don't know, folks, if you happen to have gotten a membership, let me see if I can do this. I don't know if I can do it as I'm, James, Modern Day Debate account. I'm going to see if I can gift a membership to somebody. So I'm just throwing it in there, and let's see if this works. 94, let's see. And we'll see. It says your gift has been announced in live chat, and it says Modern Day Debate gifted 1 membership. And let's see. I don't know. It was given to Daz72 Dan. So thanks so much for being with us. We seriously appreciate you. And yeah, so that's a cool feature, folks. If you haven't seen that, we do have channel memberships, which is a cool thing. If you want to support the channel, we also have Patreon. I don't know if you knew that. It's linked in the description. We don't ever really put it on screen. Now that I think about it, that's maybe something we'll do in the future. So a lot of people don't know we do have a Patreon account. If you are on the same page as us in terms of the vision for Modern Day Debate, I've got to tell you, the Patreon or channel memberships are a great way to support the vision. What is the vision? You might be wondering, James, what do you do? What is the vision of Modern Day Debate? I'll tell you, it is to provide a neutral platform so that everybody can make their case on a level playing field. Our values are simple, and they are 3. In particular, we want to give everybody a fair shot. So whether you be Muslim, atheist, Christian, you name it, we are glad that you are here. We hope you feel welcome, and we want to give every debater a fair shot so that they can make their case on a level playing field. As mentioned, YouTube deserves a better class of debate channel, and we're going to give it to them. And another way that we are going to be fair, thanks Apostate Prophet, I see you there in the old live chat. Thanks for becoming a member of the channel. That means a lot, seriously. We really do appreciate that, Apostate Prophet, is that we are determined. We are never going to put out any videos that say, oh man, those atheist debaters really stunk tonight. And we're not going to put out any videos. Hamlet's dad, I see you spamming in chat again. I hate to do it. You know, this hurts me more than it hurts you. I got to time you out. But thanks for becoming a member. Seriously, option select. Welcome to Extra Juicy, the membership. We have extra juicy debates here all the time. Thank you so much for your support through that membership. And I've got to tell you, we are determined. We never have any videos after the debate that are like, oh, the Muslim or oh, the atheist sucked so bad. We don't do that. We have only debates. That's it. We don't have any commentary videos. We don't have any videos where it's like, oh, well, here's our position on this. Here's the modern day debate position. We don't do that. It's purely for the debaters, and it's purely for you in the comments to share who you found most persuasive in the debate. And so I'd highly encourage you can always do that, is leave a comment and let people know what you thought, as we always enjoy that. Someday I think that YouTube is going to put a poll feature in the comments itself, like not just the live chat. And so that might be fun. We might do a poll of who won the debate. The challenge with us, well, anyway, before I go on about that, is I've got to tell you, my dear friends, the other things that we're excited about is, as I mentioned, our values are: one, we want everybody to have their fair shot. In other words, we want fairness. Second of all, we want, frankly, to give our guests the freedom, the liberty, the free speech to say what they want within YouTube terms of service, of course, because we do want to play well with YouTube because, hey, they recommend our videos a lot. We don't want to cut off the branch that we're sitting on as they're recommending all of our videos. We don't want to break that relationship because YouTube promotes our channel like crazy. I mean, the amount of impressions, the amount of times that YouTube recommends our videos is gigantic. So the other thing is this. We want to give everybody a fair shot to say what they want. We want them to have free speech, to be able to say what they feel like, what they think. But you might be saying, well, Jim, what about James, what about the misinformation? What about disinformation? What if they say something that's potentially harmful? Well, that's where our third value of competition comes in. Namely, we believe, as iron sharpens iron, we believe that arguments are going to collide, and that you could say there's going to be a natural selection of arguments. Namely, the best arguments are going to win out, and that the worst arguments are going to quickly fade out into the darkness. That's important for us, and that's why we really do want to give the debaters a lot of freedom here, is we don't want to regulate the debaters too often. You know, that's why a lot of people said, like, your moderation is pretty laissez-faire. It's pretty easygoing, and that's on purpose. There's actually a purpose, a reason for that. Now, we do interrupt. We think that there's always a good, reason. If, let's say, you can't hear the speakers because they speak over each other, then yeah, of course you've got to interrupt, because in that case, it kind of thwarts the purpose of our own channel, because you want to be able to hear what people are saying. So we do sometimes, but generally we're pretty kind of hands-off. We want the speakers to feel like they have autonomy or freedom while they're here at Modern Day Debate. And we believe that that competition is good and healthy. And like I said, there will be a natural selection of ideas or arguments where the best ones will win out. Want to say hello to you there in the old live chat. Shay Treadwell says, we love Modern Day Debate, buddy. Well done. Thanks so much, Shay. Seriously, that really does mean a lot. I'm really encouraged by that. As well as Tri-Edge Gaming, good to see you. As well as Joe and Russell Gibson, I see you there in the old live chat. James119, thanks for coming by. Stardust, 2 words. Thanks for coming by, Stardust. As well as Christian Hero, thanks for dropping in. What's that from? There's a movie where the dad... Oh, it's from Rogue One. Is that Stardust in Rogue One was the nickname for the scientist's daughter, the main character. And so I saw that the other day and it made me think of that. But anyway, we want to say, my dear friends, we are excited. We are pumped about the future. And we have to tell you, we do have big plans. I'm like waiting to announce it because we are planning on DebateCon. Our debate conference, that's what DebateCon is short for, is going to happen. It's going to be in Dallas. We have taken longer than usual to set it up. It's embarrassing. I've kind of dropped the ball a little bit on this. It is going to happen, though. We are determined. We are going to carry this out. We're absolutely excited. And we want to say thank you for all of your support. It's going to be November 19th and 20th. And this time I'm serious, because I know last time I said it would be like November 4th. This time I'm very serious. Like, it's the real deal. So we're pumped about that. It's going to be amazing. Option select, I see it there in the old live chat using the amazing Modicon. Thanks for your support again. Kanye Twitty, thanks for coming by, as well as Human Kirk, thanks for being here. Belinda Dunn, we're glad you're with us. Living Room Speakers, good to see you again. PC Angel Dust, that's what I'm talking about. And I'm just kidding, I don't use any illicit drugs. Kanye Twitty, good to see you, as well as Karen Weiss says, thank you all. Thank you, Karen. Seriously, thanks for hanging out with us. Hope you're doing well. And Jay Diaz, glad you were with us, as well as iCypher23. And Jupiter Darman, thanks for your channel membership support, says maybe a little info about DebateCon or where to find out more about it. Dallas is only about 6 hours from here. Yeah, you should totally come, Jupiter. We're working on making this as affordable and cool as possible. It is going to happen. It's going to be 2 days, just like last time, and it's a work in progress, but it is going to be in Dallas, specifically Plano, and it is going to be huge. It's like, we're pumped about this. So My dear friends, I don't have a page for it yet, but I will. It's just the reason I don't want to say too much about it is because there are still technically details being, you could say the final nails are being put into the coffin where we can say, hey, boom, we're done, and we can promote this and announce it. In the meantime, we're kind of like, I just don't want to mention it too much because then people are like, James, are you like, is it still going to happen? And I hate keeping people on edge when they can't just go to the web page, which isn't made yet, but it will be. But I want to say thanks for coming by, Sparky Tech. Good to see you, as well as Coffee Breath and Deej. Thanks for coming by. And thanks for your super chat. Option Select says amazing. Thank you, Option Select. Amazing indeed. Thank you for your support. And Daz72 Dan, thanks. It says, wait, did I get a gift? You did. Did you see that? We did that right after the debate. I wanted to test it out. So hope you enjoy that gift. Use those emoticons. I hope that you use those emoticons to call everybody in live chat a soy boy, because you have that emoticon. Did you see that? There's an emoticon that says soy boy. So want to say thanks for coming by. Danny 247 8I says, God bless you, James. Very beautiful personality. Thanks for your kind words. Seriously, that means a lot. And Joe Brain, thanks for coming by, as well as Living Room Speaker says your debates are tremendous. I love them. Thanks for that. James 119 says, James Kuntz, there's no T in it. Everybody always puts a T in it. I don't know why. Like all in my life, I've had that happen many times in many places, but that's all right. But Assad Kamal says, I love you, James. I love you too. Thank you. And thank you, Cole Merchant, for being with us, as well as, let's see. Jabrain says the Q&A is too long. I think you're right. It was long. And we might at some point, I don't want to do this, but it is one way. I don't know. You guys can tell me. Well, we'll come back to that. Shay Treadwell says, yeah, James is a pretty let your light shine before men type of dude. Thanks for your kind words. Seriously, that means a lot. And I appreciate you being here. Perfect one. Thanks for always supporting us in the live chat with those hit like chats. I appreciate that. Seriously, it does really mean a lot. When you do that, reminding people, it helps folks. I think a lot of people don't think that it's like for real, but it really does help. When you hit like, it does kind of tell the YouTube algorithm to suggest this video to more people, and it probably is temporarily ranked a little bit more highly because you do that. So thanks for that. James 119 says correction on the name Coons. Thanks for that. And Kanye Twitty says, yes, sir. Thanks, James. Appreciate that. Asad Kamal says, James, do you think you can beat Jesus in an arm wrestling contest? You're, let's see, a character. We're glad that you're all here. We want to say, let's see here. Mark Thompson says, can you get Vosh for a debate, for DebateCon this year? I would like to, but Vosh actually just doesn't really like to travel as much anymore. We used to be able to get him. I think it was only once that we actually, I think it was only once we hosted him. We flew him into Los Angeles. We did a debate there because that's where Destiny lived. And now he's in Miami. But basically, long story short, Vosh is a nice young man. And we'd love to have him on again. Same thing with all of our debaters. We always say they're nice young men or nice young women. And we do appreciate them. And so it's a possibility, but I got to be honest, I don't think Vosh is, he's not as excited about it. He just doesn't like leaving the house as much, at least not for a conference. And Option Select says, is Daniel Hakikaju coming to the debate conference? That is one of those nails that we're almost done nailing in the coffin, but it's still slightly being negotiated. So it's kind of a close one. I hope so. I think so, but don't quote me on it. It's still being negotiated. Shalom ex-Muslim says, thank you for giving everybody a fair change to put their case freely here. Thank you for that. Seriously, that means a lot. For us, it's really important. That's our vision, is we really do want to provide a fully neutral platform. There are debate channels out there, namely like channels that have a lot of debates, and we're happy for them. Like, we have no hard feelings. There are other channels that do it. But I've got to say, and we don't think there's anything immoral or anything. Like, I don't think it's wrong for them to have additional commentary videos where they take a certain side. Like, in fact, a lot of them, that's their main thing. And, just debates they do once in a while to promote the channel. And we, though, said, hey, you know what? We think there should be at least one channel on YouTube that has nothing but debates. and really follows through with it. And it's true, like, we once in a while we have like a thank you video and it's not a debate, like, but we also, we have like one video that explains like why we think it's good to host controversial debates. Like, like, okay, we're not, you could say obviously we're partisan in that direction, and you probably figured that out given that we've hosted controversial debates. So it's not like you needed a video to learn that. But Anton Gomez, thanks for coming by. It says, great channel, Mr. Modern Day Debates. I love the content. Seriously, thanks, Anton. That means a lot. We hope you're doing well. And Jungle Jargon says, this is a good video to like. Thanks for that, Jungle Jargon. I appreciate it. And in fact, if you look at the poll, it says, did you hit that based like button? 60% said, yes, I did. That's awesome. That's huge, you guys. Seriously. And then I think it was 21%. I am well pleased, and I will hit like now. So thanks for doing that, you guys. It really does. It means a lot. We really do. I actually do. I do appreciate it. You know, it's like a small deed for the day. You know, you've gone out of your way to do something like that, and so we appreciate it, as we are excited about the vision. And Shay Treadwell says James Blonde sounds dope. And Mina says, James is ignoring me. How's it going, Mina? Good to see you there. Says, is she blonde, James? I don't know what you're talking about. Let's see. Says, oh, is there a girl? I'm dating a nice young lady, and she's dirty blonde, I think you'd say. Living Room Speaker says, your debates are tremendous. Love them. Thanks for your support. And let's see here. I got to get out of here. It's getting pretty late. I just love hanging out here, you guys. Seriously, it's fun. Moroccan Hebrew Ishmaelite 22, thanks for coming by. We hope that you are doing well as Akil, thanks for coming by. And Shalom, ex-Muslim, we appreciate you being here. Jean Lorette, good to see you. Thanks for your support of Modern Day Debate. Seriously, we appreciate that. As well as, let's see, Gina from Cologne, good to see you. Says you could also invite Mike Latoris and Will B. Hardigan. They are both great. Hey, I'll write those names down. Appreciate you sharing those with me. And yeah, we are pumped though, you guys. I'm pumped. It is fun stuff here. Like, I enjoy this big time. And let's see. Shalom, ex-Muslim, says, that is why I love this channel. Make the playing field level. Freedom of speech is powerful. We agree with that, and we appreciate that. Coffee Breath says, would you be interested in a debate between a young earth creationist and an agnostic Christian about the age of the earth? It's kind of like, it seems like it's almost like theology, because it's two Christians in the debate. We usually try to get two people of two broader worldviews, like Christian Muslim, atheist Christian. So I don't know. I got to be honest, I'm not sure. And then Gina from Cologne says, let's see, or we got that one. 100 says, get Shaikh Uthman and Sam Shamoun on here. Hey, I'm open to that. I'm going to write those names down too, so I appreciate you sharing those with me. Let me write this down. But yeah, my dear friend, it's getting so late. I got to go. But want to say thank you guys for all of your support. Seriously, you guys make this fun. And Assad Kamal says, do you have in real life debates as well? Yeah, we do. We for real do. January, we had a huge conference. It was 2 days long, and we had like a total of like 12 debates. It was huge. I think we maybe even had like 14, because at some point, some of the debates we had 2 going on in 2 different rooms. It was huge. So that was cool. And we are excited though. Yeah, it's going to be amazing as we are working on our next debate conference, which will be late next month. It'll be just before Thanksgiving, so we're pumped about that. And so we got you guys. We appreciate you guys. Thanks for all of your support. And yeah, we do have some in real life debates. If you check it out on our homepage, like at the Modern Day Debate YouTube page, there are some there. Even if you look at the best of Modern Day Debate like list, the playlist there on our front page. And so yeah, we plan on doing more as well. So want to say thank you guys for all of your support. Seriously, I love you guys. You guys make this fun. I really do appreciate you. And we are excited about the future, guys, as we continue to work on improving all of the different things that we can, because it's true, we have things we can improve on here. We're just going to keep learning and keep doing better. It's all about just kind of crashing and kind of like, kind of bumping up against reality enough times to where it kind of shapes you and molds you, and you learn enough from your mistakes, and you make enough mistakes, and you learn from them, and you keep getting better and keep refining things, and you keep getting more experienced and more competent. This channel is just in its beginning, my dear friends. This is only the beginning of our story, as we are absolutely pumped to have recently hit 80,000 subscribers. Thank you guys for all of your support. Seriously, it really means more than you know. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button because our story is just beginning. Thank you guys for all of your support, and we will see you at the next debate, which is tomorrow night. Brenton Langle and J.F. Gariepi are going to debate whether or not the left, namely the political left, is indoctrinating children with their sexual conventions or ethics, or you could say values. So that's going to be a juicy one. You don't want to miss it. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, guys. Thanks for all your support. I love you, and I'm excited to see you at the next one. Have you been able to see me this whole time? Did I never click off? That's embarrassing. All right. Well, thanks, guys. I love you. Seriously. I screwed that up. All right. Excited to see you at the next one. Thanks for all your support.